I'm going to go ahead and call this work session to order. Dr. Johnson, would you give us an invocation, please?
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity that we have to assemble together in your name. We thank you for life, health, and for strength. We thank you for all those who are assembled here. We thank you, Lord God, for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We ask that you guide our minds and our hearts in this meeting, that we continue to work on behalf of all citizens in Marlboro County. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Today we need to discuss our boards and commission, as well as personnel matters. Should we take this into executive session?
You can only do personnel matters in executive session.
Not with boards and commissions.
Okay, we will go ahead and open up the discussion on the boards and commissions. The main board that we need to focus on right this minute is the Economic Development Partnership Board. I've got, I know Ms. Pearlie's, you've got your book, your packet, and I've got a packet on,
And I broke it down, each board down for everyone too.
yeah, and that is all in this packet that Mr. Mullen actually given to us before. Did y'all bring that?
I'm just saying I have a one-sheeter just in case anybody.
Okay, yeah,
One-sheeter.
you got enough there?
I do.
Pass that on down. Okay. What I would suggest is that we focus on the Marlboro County Economic Development Board and the makeup of that committee. Here's the actual ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, I think Ms. Pearlie is the one that had really had some concerns as far as about these commissions or boards or any questions, whatever it was. So, you know, I know we have the ordinances, so I mean, for me, I would like to hear the concern, I guess.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, if I could have. the
Yeah,
floor,
please do.
Thank you so much. And hopefully we can go through the Economic Development Partnership Board, and I want to move quickly, but I will focus on that one, but that's not my main focus. That board ordinance is 803, and I would like to say that one of the concerns, and many of the current concerns I have with this board is that this particular board, well, of course, all the members are expired except one because we have not put anyone on it. But the question and concern I have concerning that board is that the fact that persons serving on that board being indefinitely, I think we need to reconsider that, and I know that those are the ex-official members of that board. I have a problem with indefinitely people serving on that board. But one of my greatest concerns with all of the boards, and I'll just honestly say, I'm concerned that for this whole county, that I know that people volunteer and say they want to serve on these boards, but I am concerned that these boards are, as far as their gender bias, they're racially biased, and they're socioeconomically biased. And that's what I'm really looking at. I don't really appreciate the fact that the Economic Development Partnership has all autonomy to appoint these other type committees underneath them, such as the Economic Development Partnership. They are the ones who appoint members to the Community Image and Marketing Committee. They're the ones who appoint members to the Workforce Committee, and they to the Building, Site, and Infrastructure Committee. It seems to me, and I know you just adopted this ordinance in 12/8 of 2020, and it evidently saw some changes then. But I do not think that just having Mark as number one, the city of Bennettsville have two officials on that board. And no disrespect for the city of Bennettsville, there are other mayors in the county who needs to serve on that board, even if we do a rotation of mayors. I think some good ideas will come from the mayor of McCall, some good ideas will come from the mayor of Blenheim, Tatum, Clio. I don't think we need to limit ourselves to think that that should be an indefinite position for those people to serve. However, I do notice that on a couple of other commissions they're serving at large. But one of the main concerns I have is the meeting of these committees and boards. In other counties, I noticed that they have, even if it's quarterly, their dates and meetings are posted on their website. People know when they're meeting. And I don't know, but we don't, I saw a big meeting with the Workforce Commission when Mohawk was leaving this community. But there should continue to be quarterly meetings where we, the council members in our package, should know what's going on with these boards. And all of us know that Marlboro County stands out as being top again. This will be the 20th month in a straight row for being highest in unemployment. And we need to be really serious. I don't think we need all these committees. We need to focus on a good economic development board, have some input, and push that board to be a very active board. The committees, I personally don't think we need all these committees connected to this board. I think that's sufficient enough, but that's just Ms. Lawson's concern. If someone has better concerns or can explain it to me better, I would appreciate that. But that's my concern. And I identify gender and race. I identify that, and a lot of these boards just have no disrespect to any man on this board. But when you come to the building sites and infrastructure committee, I have a problem with only persons serving on those boards are white males. I have a problem with that. And no women, because we have some smart women in this community. And I am to make sure that gender is something that we look at on those main boards. They'll put the woman on the library board, but we don't serve on a lot of those large boards. And I want to see more of that. Thank you for the floor, sir. I turn it back over to you.
Ms. Lawkins, I do echo some of your concerns that you have with these boards and commissions, and I will also echo that we have no idea of what these boards do. We have no idea. We never get any reports. We never get any correspondences. We never get any updates. We don't know what's going on with these important. If these boards are important enough for us as a county to have, they should be important enough for us to know what they're doing, how their work is impacting our community. The people, members that are serving on these boards, they need to report to council some of the things. If we're got an economic development partnership board and we are 20 months in a row at the head of the state in unemployment, don't you think we need to make some changes? Don't you think there need to be some government? I spoke with the official at Duke, and she was wondering when the board was going to meet because they hadn't met in ages. So we have these boards and we put these people's names. Some of these people don't even know their names are on these boards. Some of the members are expired. Some people's names been on there since the inception of these boards, and we have done a very poor job as a council of governing, these boards and governing in our county. And the results are there. If we see the condition of our county, we can almost point to ourselves because we have not done a good job of governing. And if we're gonna have these boards in place, us as a council, we need to understand who we putting on these boards. We need to get these boards to report to council, give us their minutes, report the stuff that they're doing so we can have an informed opinion about whether the board makeup is sufficient enough for them to be on the board and for us to carry those duties out.
One other thing I want to point out that counties like Darlington County, Florence County, and I have a package for you, they have an application process, and that way, when we as a member look at those applications, we can decide. We are a council where you don't necessarily have to live in that particular district, but if there's 8 members on that board and we all feel like those members should serve, I have no problem with that. But as long as we also recognize the gender and racial makeup of those boards, because I know we have some strong men, and I know that, but we also have some strong women who have some positive things to say about this county. And with Florence County, they have just a simple little process where they ask for information and what type work. And then they also let them know that some boards and commissions like zoning or whatever, they have, as far as it's stated, that they have some training to go through. None of these people know that they have training, but it's an online training. I checked, they do have training. But once they go through that process, that's it. Tell me what I need to do as an individual, and then I'll know what to do. And again, thank you. I yield the floor back to you, sir.
Well, I do agree that maybe a job description addition to the economic developer that we do eventually hire, or that we have, needs to make a effort to let us know what each board is doing out on his report each month. And we could put that as part of the job description for our new economic developer when we get one. To actually make any changes to the board, we had to come up with an ordinance.
Right.
And, it takes 3 readings, but, and we can do that if we see to it that we need to make some changes. I do think that the rules are already established. Maybe they have not been followed. Maybe we need to, when we work on these boards, think this through. The board that is right now here upon us is the Marlboro County Economic Development. And that's been on the agenda for several months now, and we have not been able to get through that.
However, that board has all autonomy for those other 3 appointments. That particular board have all autonomy to appoint the members that they see fit to serve on those other committees.
And in the past, we have taken their recommendation, like we have a letter from them now recommended that we add or reappoint the current members. And if we want to change those members, that is our prerogative, and we can do that.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. On the chairman of the Economic Development Board, in the past, it has been stated that you needed to live in Marlboro County to be chair that board. However, it appears that has changed. Is that correct?
That was done before I came on, but I know Andy is not from this county,
Right, so,
and he is the chairman.
so what is the rule, Mr. Chairman? I need
What does the ordinance say?
Here's the ordinance.
I need clarification on that.
Yeah,
rule.
I've got the ordinance right here. I'm looking if we can get to the point for chairman. Do you have your?
I know the answer, but I was asking you. to
Oh,
clar-
well, if you
I'm
know the
seeking-
answer,
I'm-
please.
I'm seeking clarification, of that, I want the board to tell me what.
Well, I wish you would share it if you know where it is in the thing rather than.
It has always been that you needed to dwell in Marlboro County to be chair of the economic development. You had to have an interest there. I'm not aware of any rule other than, the prior administrator he's still a current administrator, wanted it otherwise, so, but.
Okay. Well, can you show me in the ordinance where that is? I'm looking for it as we speak.
But I know the answer to it. I don't have.
I just know that I'm looking at the ordinance. It doesn't make clear about where the person, it says that all members indeed, anyway. I'm looking at about the happiness of Marlboro County, and here be residents of Marlboro County, for all who are now here residents of Marlboro County. But I don't see anything specific saying where these people come from, but I always assume that members are from Marlboro County because we're the ones who appointed them, and they need to be in Marlboro County. Now, I can't speak because I'm 5 months in this, but I can say that I would like, didn't think that when y'all did this, that they should have lived in Marlboro County on any committee.
Okay, I do see this in section 4, Number A, all it said on the officers, it says the chairperson of the partnership shall be selected by the county council upon the recommendation of the partnership. The chairperson shall be a voting member of the partnership. The chairperson shall serve a 2-year term not to exceed 2 consecutive 2 terms. The partnership, so I guess that's 4 years at the most. The partnership shall select from its own members a vice chairman and a secretary treasurer whose term shall coincide with that of the chair. So I don't see any language in here specifying that they had to be from Marlboro County. And that was done before.
This 2020,
12/8,
you changed that,
2020.
you changed this ordinance in 2020, December of 2020.
Okay, well, I don't know where the previous ordinance, do we have a copy of that?
This is the only ordinance in the book that doesn't have the previous ordinance attached to it. All the other ordinances that you changed have the information about the previous ordinance, but this is the only one where there's no previous ordinance attached to it.
Here it is for me, this is where I stand on that issue. We've had the CEO of Dumtar at one time trying to be the the chairman of that board. He was denied because he didn't live in Marlboro County. We also had Mr. Fleming from Marlboro Co-op seek to be the chairman of that board, and he was denied because he didn't live in the county. Good people are good people. You know, sometimes you can't find people within the county that may be qualified, but in this particular case, I don't think that's the case. I just think that if we're going to say that you need to be from Marlboro County, and you need to have Marlboro County's best interests and live in Marlboro County, that's the way I think.
Well, we would have to change the ordinance, we'll have to create an ordinance and it have to go through 3 readings. And, there's a process for that. So, we can do that. Is there any other, I haven't heard from all the councilmen yet.
No, I would ask if we could get a copy of the previous ordinance.
It's not in this package.
No, I just said I would ask the chairman if he could relay if we can get a copy of the previous ordinance,
Look at that.
partnership.
I don't think we realize how important these boards are to the success of our county. And it's obvious that we haven't taken these boards very seriously. Because if we don't know the ordinance and what information is included in the ordinances, and we don't even know who these people who make up half of these boards. I looked at some of those names and I couldn't tell you who those persons were if they was right here sitting in the room. So it's obviously we have not done their due diligence in serving this county. And it's obvious, and that's no hit to nobody. I'm just stating the plain obvious. We have not done a great job at doing our duties as council members, and our county is hurting because of it.
All right, so I'm gonna go find the previous ordinance and we'll vote to see if we'll change the ordinance. Excuse me?
I can look for you.
Okay. Okay,
I
and,
have the local ordinances.
okay. Okay, so is that plan of action suitable? Or that I go ahead and get that, and then we go ahead and, now we're gonna have several meetings coming up, and we can look at that.
But therefore, that recommendation that's in our package, even though it's in the minutes, we're waiting on information from our clerk council, right?
Right.
Okay. I have another one I want to point out, please, sir.
Okay.
Housing and Community Redevelopment Authority, that's the members who serve on this committee, this board. This is for the Clio facility. However, one of the things I noticed in this ordinance, if I'm living in Clio, I think it should be proper and in order that members from that committee, at least half of the members in that committee, it's a 4-member board, somebody needs to serve in the Clio area. If I was in the McCall area and I was in the housing, I think people from Clio would know who to go to if they have a complaint with that housing. I know the housing project there in Clio, and I know that for the members who we have serving on that board, all the terms have expired. But I do think that members who's serving on that board, at least 2 of them, should be from the Clio area. And all those members have expired.
Now, that is a very important board, but it serves the whole county.
And everybody who serves on that board are all from Lennoxville. You're saying that we don't have anybody from Clio who may be capable of serving on that board?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the most qualified person ought to be the people that go onto that board from the county. And I'm not looking at seeing who's on there. I'm just
Right.
saying that.
And I noticed that the chair is someone who works as a paid employee of the county. I noticed y'all may thought that was okay, but I don't think members who employees of the county needs to be considered being chair of any boards.
We do not have an ordinance for that. I was looking for it.
Here it is. Library board. History. Unfortunately, they didn't put a ordinance on the back of this one. I noticed that too. So there's no ordinance on the back of this, but it all just says that it's operating facilities in Clio and headquarters is out of Florence. That's the only thing that's on the back of that.
What I will do, I will go, we have got to find an ordinance that's in place for that. We'll find out exactly why.
Maybe you would ask the clerk.
Can you do that? Can you find me an ordinance for the Housing and Community Redevelopment Authority?
I can look for it, but I don't think this is a board that we control. I will look that up for you now.
Okay.
So we don't control, but the members who.
Yes, ma'am, there are some state boards and
Like the
commissions that
library.
the county cannot control.
Okay.
They ask that we recommend people to sit on their boards, but we can't tell them what to do. But I will look and see if there is anything in our ordinances concerning it.
Thank you.
And if we find that this is outside of our control and that ordinances, we can at least find out how the state comes up with their board members and come back with the board with that explanation.
A lot of them comes as recommendations from the board to council.
Two council.
Yeah.
Well, that brings me to PD Council of Government on the back. That board, according to, went on the PD Council on Government, it's supposed to be a rotating board, and I looked at that, and on that board, in 2013, you had Dr. Carolyn Prince on our council, and I'm sure that she did a outstanding job and she was a member. But I checked and looked at all the other members on that six, it's a regional board, so it has to do with 6 other counties. They all have their county council members on that board, and it's a rotating board. When I say rotating, according to I've already spoke to several members of that board from different regions. They rotate their newest members on that board so they can get an understanding of the government, the workforce, and all of those kinds of things. I don't know whether 10, 13 years, it'll be exactly 10 years ago because it was appointed in 2013. I don't know whether anyone else was interested in serving in that board, but I know that the last 2 councils, Mr. Johnson and Dr. Johnson and Mr. Stroman, they've been on here longer than I, and some of you have been on here longer than they have. I just would like to see that we rotate, give these men an opportunity to serve on that board. I would love to see that. It's a 4-member board, and then on that, this board also appoints, and that was something big last month, to say, well, let's appoint this person because COG says do so. I pulled the sheet from COG, and it's where we nominate someone, we turn this in, someone from the office turns it in, and we send it. But we have a member on this board also who do not live in the county, on that committee. And I'm just willing to say, we need to have our people in Marlboro County serve on this board. And we, as council members, should be members to serve on that board. We are the governing body, but we need to know what's going on. But when I go to a city council meeting, they're telling me what the PD Council on Government's saying, and I'm not hearing anything from the members. So if you look at that ordinance, it says that it's a rotating ordinance. It says that, and when you go on their website, it says rotating. And I do appreciate this opportunity for us to be honest and talk about it, because if you look at it, it says length of term is rotating. And then, but it's also said that in 2013, a request was approved by this council that one particular member can stay on the board. I don't think it's fair to any of the other members, me included. So, but I'm advocating, I'm gonna always advocate for the female, I'm gonna tell you that up front. But I'm advocating for, if we're gonna do it, give any one of us the opportunity to serve on boards and ordinance.
And this is a very important board. There's a lot of stuff that can come through PD COG, and talking to, some members on it. There are grant opportunities, there's information, and they're almost disappointed that Marlboro County has members that's on paper that do not attend those meetings, that do not bring any information back to our county. There's a grant that just came out, FEMA grant, that I think the city of Bennettsville got it because their person was on there. Nobody from county council has been to those meetings to bring information back, and we missing out on money and information because we're not doing our job as council members. If your name is going to be on that board and you get that little quarterly check from PD COG, you need to go to the meetings and bring information back to us.
Mr. Chairman, I have been on the board for a while. I do not get a check from PD COG. I have not been able to attend any meetings, so if somebody wants my spot, they're more than welcome to have it.
And also Anthony Woods.
If you would notify that, Ms. Clerk.
Excuse me.
I said, I have been on the board for a while, but I cannot attend the Council of Government, but I have not received a check, do not receive a check from them, and I have not been able to attend the meeting, so somebody can have my spot. I don't know who else is on it, but I have been on it.
I'll ensure that's in there.
And it does have Councilman Woods on there currently, but it goes back to 2013, so. That is a board that we will go ahead and come up with appointing members. I guess if I understand this right, we can go ahead and appoint two members, or is that 3? What's the vacant?
The vacant spot was
I don't see the.
Ms. Plato served on that board.
Okay.
Ms. Plato served on that board, but I don't know what the council plan to do, whether it's going to be rotating with 3 members on that board, 4 members. But I do want to give way to any other male who wants to be on that board. But if not, I would like to be a female on that board. But I will go with whoever else wants to be on that board first.
I mean, as far as my part goes, I'd be glad for you to take my place. So, it's,
All right, sir.
Are we looking at the same paper? Are you on that board?
I used to be, but I'm
Oh,
not now.
okay.
Rotated off.
And I'm not interested.
I do not see an ordinance for the PD Council of Government, but
But I don't think that's the
Mr. Chairman,
ordinance.
aren't council members supposed to be, aren't council members supposed to be placed on, at least one council member supposed to be placed on each board and report back, if necessary, if there's something to report back. But, it was my understanding that that's what we do as a council, is we appoint to boards, but we also sit on these boards, and they look to us for guidance.
I think that we can get back there. Or start, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start it.
But it looks like we have 4 positions we need to fill on that board, is that correct? I mean, is that how you see it?
I see
Ms.
for,
Lawson?
I don't know what Mr. Woods' intentions is, so I can't speak for Mr. Woods.
Well, I mean, but we can reappoint him, but it just looks like that we still need to do that.
The chair is Mr. Rusty Smith, but, names are sent in to him, but I don't know how, if we want to put a motion on the floor to appoint people from this council, that would be fine. But whatever we do, I want to say that I want to serve, but I don't want to take that opportunity from someone else who has been on. I know I'm the only female on this council, but I want to be fair to anyone else who's been on the council.
Well, what we'll do, we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, that we're going to fill this board.
Do we need to let you know our intentions now, who wants to serve?
We can.
I mean, that would be good.
That would be,
Would you be interested?
I'll defer and let them know.
And we do have 4 positions.
Yeah.
So it's not like, we'll be.
I mean, I'm not interested, so.
I'm interested.
All right, so you got one.
I got you already up here on the top of
thank
the.
you.
So Mr.
Would you
Chairman,
like to be?
Mr. Chairman, there is a place on the agenda for appointments to boards and commissions.
Okay, so we can go ahead and tender that today. All right, and we don't know Councilman Wood's intention, but we could put him on there, and if he declines, and we could, then he could,
Maybe he'll make the meeting, he could go then. That's whenever you'd make the recommendation.
Okay.
Now we're just in discussion.
Now, we do, Mayor Prince is on PDCOG as a representative of Marlboro County, so that's something that we need to discuss. Is that something that we have to allow to continue to happen? Because she's serving on that
She's
board
serving
as a
on that board
representative
now.
of Marlboro County Council.
Right, and you want to do it proper, do you just shut it down, or do you have to, is there a channel? So I want to be sure.
Mr. Chair, if I may, whenever Dr. Prince was on council and she became the mayor, she was vice chair, I think, on PD-COG at the time, and we did ask COG if she could stay, and she was on the executive level at the PD-COG, executive committee, so we did ask if it would be appropriate to leave her in that position, since she sits at the table with some decision-making that everybody else don't get to, and that was allowed, so that's the reason that we moved forward, leaving Dr. Prince as vice chair, as a representative of the county.
And she still serves as vice chair, I agree. And if the board, if the body here wants to decide, at least finish out this year, but I still think it should be council represented, council member represented only.
I have no problem with that. It was just,
Thank
we
you.
didn't have enough we had to
Right,
serve
we didn't
then,
have
and
enough.
that's how we filled the positions.
Okay,
okay. Well, I've got 4 names right here. I don't think, is there, do you have any?
I think you would do that during the
Yeah,
regular
during the
council
regular
meeting.
meeting, of
Yeah, so we could just have those names, so, and a lot of these, getting back to the board, I mean, are you finished with that one?
I think we're finished with this one.
not with the committee members that's appointed. You have a women's committee member that represents Marlboro County, who does not live in Marlboro County.
Oh, yeah, but we can vote.
Okay,
I agree with you on that. I mean, I think we can get 4 members from our council to serve on that board.
But I think you want to let Dr. Prince, if she's still vice chair, finish out whatever duty she has for this
I do
year.
too. I think it's more
So it might be a 3-member appointment for this
Right.
year instead of a 4.
Okay. When we come up to vote on that, we can, we'll just make an issue of that.
But the committee that this board appoints, we appoint a member to serve on the workforce committee of that board, and the member on the workforce committee was appointed last month. lives, I guess, in Marlboro County. Because it'll show you the names. I pulled out 15 of those names. The member that's representing Marlboro County does not live in Marlboro County.
So, Mr. Chairman, some of these things is just like the clerk had said earlier, they come as recommendations from the workforce to us. And so a lot of times we accept the recommendation coming from another board, so that's who they have in the position. So if we want to change that, I think that'd be something, I think we need to be in talks with it, because a lot of those come as recommendation from other boards just for us to approve. So,
If
Okay.
we were getting some reports from these committees and staying up abreast, it wouldn't be such a problem, but we are not getting any type of reports from these committees. And a lot of the other counties, if you look on their website, they have their committee meetings, they have these quarterly meetings, and they have the date, time, and the schedule already on their site when these meetings are taking place. And that's one of the biggest things I see with all the boards. No meetings are held with the county members that we know about, or community people can attend. I know that you attend a meeting, not a voting meeting member, but we still need to be aware. That's one of the biggest problems with all the boards. We are not being abreast on what's going on in those meetings.
And a lot of these boards can bring in grant funding and money to our county if we knew what they were doing. Every Marlboro County you look at our dynamics, there's not a grant that we couldn't get based on the state of our county. And a lot of these boards could apply for grant with the right information, could really and truly do something to help offset some of the things the infrastructure stuff that we're lacking in our county. But you're right, we never get any information from these boards. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know if they're meeting. We don't know. We just don't know anything. That's just unacceptable.
I think if we get an engaged council member on each board, and then we can make a report as needed and get it on the agenda. You agree with that, Dr. Johnson?
I agree with that too.
Mr. Chairman, we do get some information. The airport commission, that board makes a yearly, they bring it to our attention that they want to apply, they've approved to apply for a grant for these upgrades we do on the airport. So there are some of the boards, that board particularly, they do bring it to our attention, this continuing grant that we do every year for the airport for upgrades for lighting and stuff. So that's one board that I know does meet, and they do bring recommendations, and we always sign off on it because and I think Jason knows it's a continuous thing every year that they have certain grants that come available through the Cyclone Aeronautics Administration that we can apply for, and we always just sign off on them that there's no match or anything. It's just a straight grant from the Cyclone Aeronautics Administration.
Okay. With
Can
respect,
elected officials serve on these boards and commissions?
no, they cannot.
Well, you need to look at the airport board then.
I am, I've got my report.
Okay.
That's my appointment, and
And Council Strong and I, we have talked about
Okay,
that. so-
no, I was just asking that question.
Right. So that,
The next board, sir, if we can move on, because I know we have another meeting. The Trinity Behavior Care Board, what happened with that board? Do we not have that as, we have it in our package?
excuse me, what board?
The Trinity Behavior Care Board, there was an ordinance adopted in 2007. And with mental health being an issue in the whole state and in the nation, I'm just wondering why, if that's something that we have dismissed that board, have abolished that board.
I don't think that's anything we have control over.
Dr. Johnson may be able to have some.
I think that's a board commission through Deotis.
Okay.
But Marlboro County should have who we need to appoint, on that board. I'm not sure if there's an ordinance I think it's like one of those PD-COG boards, that there is a commission that we're supposed to have a board for Trinity Behavior Care, but I hadn't seen any information about that board makeup.
There is a ordinance right here.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Johnson, are you aware?
Yeah, but I don't know of the board makeup.
Membership in terms
It doesn't give the names or anything, so I don't know either.
of 8 members.
Marlboro County used to have a mental health board, and it got defunct back in the day. But we need to reestablish that board. We,
I can contact Donnie Brock,
yeah,
who's
it will go
the,
through Chesterfield County now?
no, he's Marlboro, Dillon, Marion.
Marion, okay.
I can contact him to see if he has any information, but I know that board is important because we just got them, they're about to build this new facility out here on number 9, so that board is going to be really important to be connected to them.
Council members did at one time appoint somebody from their district to be
Right.
on that board.
Right.
So I know that, you know.
I've got board members on there. I don't know, I mean, this goes back to 2014.
And it's 13, so you have, the last appointment says 2013, that appointments.
I do
From
have that
1,
ordinance.
2016.
Yeah, I can give you a copy of that after this, if you want.
And the zoning board. The zoning board and also the ones that says indefinite do not expire. Those boards that we have several of them that says their term never expire. Like tax and appeal, members appointed since 2013 and they stay appointed indefinitely. Those kinds of things. None of us can serve indefinitely because when the voters don't want us in, they can knock us out, take us out. So
Which boards are you referring to?
you got the zoning board, it says indefinitely.
Tax and appeal.
They can sit there, they can stay there forever. Then the zoning appeal, the terms do not expire.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Okay.
Brooke has some.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Chair, on the zoning board and appeals, those board members have to go through strict training and have to be certified, and they have to be well-versed in construction and many items. And if we can have Mr. Cook speak to their qualifications, that would help us. We can't just appoint anybody to those boards. That's why they have unexpired terms that carry on. You can't just find somebody that knows the ins and outs of how to build a house and everything. They have to be very strictly qualified. Could you emphasize on that, Mr. Cook?
Well, the members are required to take at least, I think it's a one-day certification course in process, policies, and procedures for their position as serving as a board member in whatever respective category it is. It's just a one-day course. It's just more or less just to get you a crash course, if you want to call it that, to help you better serve that need. The zoning board of appeals obviously is a case-by-case basis, so not every situation will be the same. So each member will be faced with different decisions to make based on their qualifications and their, I guess, their knowledge that they at least received through this one-day certification course, any experience that they brought forward with it.
So to your knowledge, then there's no continuing education, just that one-day crash course?
Correct.
And that's it?
That's per state statute at the moment, Councilman Strong. That's subject to change, I guess, at any time based on legislative decisions.
So I guess our question is, do one day of training, does that justify indefinite appointment?
I'm looking at the, for the ordinance on that thing. Do you have that?
Would that justify an indefinite appointment? I mean,
The ordinance in the back, and then stuff is left off of it, is ordinance number 545, zoning ordinance, and then for some reason, we just got parts of it, but that's all. We don't have the entire ordinance of that.
Yeah, I don't agree with an indefinite term. I agree that, you
For
know,
anyone.
some type of long-term 5 or 10
I
year,
can
if
see a
that.
2-year
thing, but-
term or whatever, but,
I'm sorry, I just don't see the indefinite I was trying to read what you're reading.
It's on the sheet, when you look at the.
Yeah, but that's just
Well,
something.
here's the sheet, but it tells it on the sheet that they're saying that.
Now, I
that's-
see this, and this is an ordinance, but it's not,
It has,
now,
zoning ordinance, it has, definite. Wait a minute, let me go.
yeah, I see what you're reading, but that's
Right,
just,
it says that one, we had two
it's
sheets
like
of
just
set.
a note down there, and it's not really the ordinance. We need the actual ordinance.
Well, you don't have all of the ordinance, you have parts of
Wait,
it.
can you get us that ordinance for the, zoning and appeals board?
If it's an
You want
indefinite
the portion
appointment,
Dealing with the board because the zoning
Right.
ordinance is.
The board, not the actual zoning ordinances.
if it's an indefinite appointment, we definitely need to go into some type of continuing education for them, not just one day,
Yeah.
crash course.
And listen, I got that.
15 years ago was let me ask you, 15 years ago,
As a matter of
were the
fact-
codes the same?
That's the
They
tax.
They are now?
evolve, Councilman Sherman. The state will re-adopt the code every 3 years,
Every 3 years?
based on whatever modifications they deem necessary.
So they need to be upgraded on that then, right? You see, so there do need to be some form of continuing education.
Right, it would be helpful. And just to state that you also have a planning commission that kind of deals in some of the same areas. So you may have some crossover in the knowledge there, and maybe the training could be basically the same in some sense.
So we may can coordinate them, with the training efforts and stuff like that, but there definitely has to be some form of education, continuing education with that.
Yeah, we can't make an educated conversation without the actual ordinance. So, our clerk will be getting that information.
And if I may, just that the council knows, we have a lot of pending issues coming down the pipe for the planning commission. Specifically, the zoning board of appeals is kind of its own beast. Hopefully, we won't have to use that entity for anything because it usually means you've got to a bad place of some sort with interpretation of the ordinances. But the planning commission is something we really need to have a critical look at, get that. I think it's one more slot left, and I may be mistaken with that, but we need to get those individuals that have been recently appointed trained so that whatever's coming down the pipe here can be addressed without delay, I guess, is our word.
And I know this is not the most exciting stuff that we're talking about.
I do too.
I see the heads and
I me too.
but if we look at our county and look at the state that our county is in, and then we look at how we engage these boards, there's a correlation to what we do as a council and who we appoint to these boards to the plight of our county. So yeah, we're gonna take some time to go through, this process, and we're not talking about the most, exciting information, but sometimes this is the most pertinent information that shows you what we can do with the right people on these boards and the right people in place. So I apologize that we're boring some people, but when I look at the state of our county, and I see the condition of these boards and the lack of communication and the lack of transparency that we have in with these boards, I can stand being bored for a little bit until we get this stuff together.
I do see the Construction Board of Appeals ordinance.
That note, those members have all been not serving. No one's been on there since 2011.
Yeah.
They've all expired.
Well, my recommendation would be to take each board one at a time.
Right.
And
Thank you.
study it, and then we will, and of course, today we will bring up the boards that we're familiar with. But this is going to obviously be another meeting that we're going to have to look into the ordinances.
Thank you.
With that being said, should we move on to the next topic? Oh, who had a question?
Vice Chair Steve.
You had a question? Oh, you got the agenda right there. Okay. Next on the list was personnel matters, and I had some information to share.
Executive session.
Is that?
We will. And, we need to handle that in executive session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor? All right, that's unanimous. Okay, we are back out of executive session. Motion was made by Bert Odom and seconded by Ken Stroman. And no action was taken. Excuse me? Councilman Stroman. No action was taken. All right, we'll move forward to our regular monthly meeting. I'm going to ask Councilman Woods if he would, well, I'll officially call it to order. And I'll ask Councilman Woods if he'd give us an invocation.
Heavenly Father, is once again that you have blessed us, Lord, to gather together upon one roof. Father, as these minds come together, Lord, we ask that you allow us to work with your guidance to make Marlboro County a better place. Father, although we may disagree, Lord, but may we agree on one thing, that we all want Marlboro County to succeed in all aspects, all vessels. Father God, we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, before us is the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? In favor of the agenda?
You vote on the agenda? We don't go to vote?
I'm not going to say anything, I'm abstaining from voting.
Okay, you want to abstain?
I do.
Or vote against?
I'm just abstaining from voting.
One abstain, 7.
If I'm not mistaken, that was an updated agenda. Is this the updated agenda?
The revised
That we're
agenda.
approving?
That's what I made the motion for.
Yeah,
I need to state
it
revised
is,
agenda.
it's on here. This is the updated agenda. With the, 7A, that was the only change. All right, so you got the count on the agenda? All right, moving on to the approval of minutes. We have the minutes from the April 11th, 2023 meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? 7-4, do you abstain? 1 abstention, no against. All right, we have the presentation of our operating budget. Mr. West Park.
Mr. Chairman, council members, I'm here tonight to present the operating budget for the fiscal year 23-24 for second reading. This is similar to the presentation you've seen in the previous workshop, and a few different terms that regularly used within this presentation. I'm sure you're familiar with fiscal year, recurring expenses, capital expenses, revenue, fund, and fund balance. We'll look at general fund budget to begin. And looking at the prior year, the fiscal year, well, the current year that we're in, to see the expenses for $13,855,000. We had revenue projection of $13,475,000, which required $380,000 from reserve. And obviously, the use of that fund balance within the budget is going to depend on a number of factors based on, obviously, things like vacancies and compensation, other expenditures during the year. Of course, this is an estimate. Look at the different increases for the current year's budget. what we found is we've got a cost of living impact to continue. And of course, a half a year of that cost of living, which would start in January of 2024, that cost would be $90,000. We've got increases in the food contract for the federal inmates. That's about $20,000 for general fund. We do have additional training, travel, meals associated with the detention center, about $10,000. The employer's share of state retirement increases 1% this year, which is about $65,000. We've got additional costs with enhanced internet service or the network, $20,000. When we look at inflation in general, we've got increased fuel costs that we're anticipating in the amount of $50,000. We've got increases in things like liability insurance, health insurance, employer premium share, and the increase for ADP payroll service. Those amounts are 30 and 35,000. We've got overtime that we've got presented within this budget within the sheriff's department. I know we've seen some real reduction in that amount over the last 4 months or so, but we've for safety we've provided an additional $70,000 there. And one of the things that happens with things like health insurance, fringe, is that the cost of our health care depends on what the employee elects in terms of coverage. So if we've got employees that elect family coverage, for example, that cost of that health insurance increases for the county, and that can be pretty significant. That number for health insurance and the increase in the retirement rate for police, it makes up about $100,000. Public works and buildings fuel, another $20,000. Looking at our lease payments, that increase for the current year is $70,000. And we've got incremental increases in recreation as a result of anticipated participation. That amounts to $82,000. The workers' comp premiums, $37,000. We do have some reductions, within finance administration, retiree insurance subsidy. We had in the past we've included a compensation adjustment of $35,000. That's not in this budget. And then we had a 911 antenna maintenance that was paid in this current year, so that's not recurring expenses. And we had miscellaneous deductions of about $70,000. Total increase is $465,000. Now, we looked at the revenue changes. There's really been no change since last meeting. We're basically flat. What we've experienced is a loss of revenue from Mohawk in general fund, about $520,000. We've got some other increases of $310,000 and $203,000 in miscellaneous items. So overall, our revenue is flat. We take a look at where we are with our current budget expenses at $14,370,000, and our revenues at $13,550,000. That leaves a deficit of about $820,000, which is very close to, it actually matches with the reduction that we've seen from Mohawk. If we look at those numbers, that $520,000 difference, in terms of what our reserve target should be, around $300,000. As we've stated, due to decrease in vacancies, we need to target about $300,000 in reserve, because what we found is that as compensation has increased, so has the reduction in vacancies. So we don't have those vacancies that we've experienced in prior years. Inflation is very difficult to predict, and obviously we'll want to do everything we can to protect our fund balance. Presently, our target is 5 to 6 months of operating costs, and based on our current financials, we've got about 5.5 months of operating revenues in terms of fund balance at this point, actual operating expenditures. Take a look at allowable tax increases. We receive a communication from the state regarding the revenue and fiscal affairs regarding the maximum level of tax increase, and that's based on consumer price index. And for the 23-24 year, that amount is 8%. That's the level of inflation that effectively we have had, and that's actually the allowable increase in millage for this current fiscal year.
That's the max allowed.
That's the max allowed. Yes, sir. And if we look at taking the same numbers that we went through before, 14,370,000 current revenues, applying the max tax increase, that puts us at about a $305,000 deficit. Now, these are requests that have been received, and of course, what we've done is updated these amounts to reference what is impacted by, what is a part of either another fund or what is impacted within general fund. And for example, the federal inmate fund, there's a provision there for bonuses, but that's going to be paid from the federal inmate fund. It's not going to have any impact on general fund. We have increases anticipated for the SROs, and those will be recovered through the school district, so that's not going to have any impact. We have a request, and you'll have this later in this meeting. There's a resolution to apply for a grant, but then a portion of that is going to have to be met with a match. And what we're proposing as part of the upgrade of the doors of the detention center is that we cover that through the general obligation bond. So that's not going to have any impact on general fund. The next item is an additional position, lieutenant with benefits. The cost of that, $64,210. We have a request for 4 law enforcement vehicles. That was amended from 8 from previous. The request is in the amount of $180,000. I'm going to talk a little bit about the mechanics of what I'm proposing in terms of if you want to fund this request, the actual general fund impact would be about $80,000. Cost of living increase for employees, 2%. Of course, that will be starting in January. If that was considered, then that cost would be about $90,000. And the last item here is an increase in the minimum base salary, which would bring, obviously, $15 an hour, $31,200. The cost of that is $314,305. So we take a look at considering those requests, applying the maximum millage. We're in a deficit of about $913,000 if all of those items were considered. Obviously, there needs to be some thought about what might want to consider within this budget or not. Any questions?
Yes, how do we get 180 to 80 on the vehicles?
Let me show you the mechanics of that, because what we talked about is, in a previous meeting, there is a RDA grant. Well, it's a community facilities grant. And the county is eligible to apply for as many of those grants as it desires to apply for, but the maximum grant amount is $50,000. So you can request 2 grants for $50,000 each for a total of 100. Then the match is 45%. So on $180,000, that's approximately $80,000 worth of match, which would then need to come from the general fund. So 100 would be the grant, 80,000 would be the match. And there again, that's the best case scenario. In the event RDA grant, is not available at the time of the application, or there's some delay, or, we could look at utilizing police to acquire. But this is really, I think, the best option. And I think this is where we need to look first, if that's a request to consider. Look at Rural Fire Fund. We know we've had some reduction in revenue due to, Mohawk. That $130,000 deficit is primarily due to a lease payment for the air packs. And we utilize fund balance to cover that. But the actual lease payment is $114,000. The deficit is $130,000. No significant, changes. Obviously, we want to minimize expenses until growth to protect the fund balance reserve. Look at EMS. We've got some good news. Marlboro County General Hospital Charities Trust has approved a request to continue funding capital purchases for 4 more years at $185,000, which was the previous commitment. And that will be used to pay for future finance. So we have the general obligation bond proceeds that are paying for the ambulance in this current fiscal year. So that's not going to create a budget impact. Look at this is just kind of a recap of the federal inmate program. We can see what we've anticipated here is revenue based on a per inmate per day calculation. And that is 15 inmates per day at a reimbursement rate of $64 for 360 days. Based on that computation, that's $345,600. And there again, the actual revenue is going to depend on the occupancy rate out at the detention center. So that could fluctuate either up or down depending on what the numbers are, what the census is. And as we spoke previous, that this would all be any payouts in terms of compensation would all be in the form of bonuses. So it would not add to general fund operating expenses or to their actual base salary that is charged in general fund. We've got additional costs associated on top of the bonuses. We've got to pay the employer FICA fringe. We also are required to pay retirement because this is a continuing, ongoing arrangement here. We've got good food costs, which is about 20% of the contract, is $48,600. We've got a medical contract of $33,000. I was really glad to see a renewal at just a 3% increase, which I thought was very, very reasonable. So anyway, revenues and expenses match with that. Next point here is recreation projects. And what I did is I pulled a slide from the December meeting. And these are, we've got phase one, which were the approved projects. And then we've got the phase two, which are the to be considered. And of course, we talked about in order to consider phase two, we probably need to do some type of recreation referendum in order to accomplish that. But these are all the elements of the phase one projects: golf course, capital and operations, splash pads with restrooms, Lake Hall Walls boardwalk, downtown rest stop, and then of course we've got city and town image concerns. The towns, that would be Clio, McCall, and what did you say?
Glenn.
Yeah, and the concept is that we would provide assistance with the CDBG match. So those communities that would make application to say if they did a $500,000 application, the match ends up being 15%, or in this case would be $75,000 each. And this would be a means by which the county could help those towns with providing for the match so that it wouldn't have any out of pocket. And then the other city and town image concerns and corridors, those would be the items that would be associated with some plan by the county.
So if the towns were not able to get that grant, will we still give them that portion of that money to go towards
I think
projects?
that would be a good discussion point. Maybe there's some other, there might be some other project that they would want to do that you would deem to be viable. But I think that's the original concept, was that this would be to aid them with CDBG. And of course, PDCOG is very instrumental with matching those grants. Okay. These are the sources of funding in terms of the approved recreation projects. Of course, you've got the recovery funds, you've got the state budget proviso. 500,000 of the county's fund balance has been reserved. And then we've got private foundation support. And that amount totals $6,750,000. All right. Let's talk a little bit about what we think are the next steps. I know we have to do a continued analysis of revenues and expenses and refinement of the budget estimates. We've got a public notice requirement that we need to publish in the Marlboro Herald for the public hearing on the fiscal year 23-24 budget. And in order to meet the notice, that advertisement must be submitted before noon on May 22nd. In order to fit within our current budget schedule, which provides for third reading on June 13th. The next item, obviously, of discussion while we work through these issues is to how to balance the budget using a combination of tax increase and/or fund balance. reserves. And I've got a recommended date of May 23rd. I don't know, that would be 2 weeks from tonight. Is that, I don't know if that fits within.
Yeah. Anybody get that?
Mr. Parr, I have a problem with that because what you're doing is proposing that that will be the public meeting for the budget. Is that what you're saying?
No, not that, the public meeting for the budget doesn't take place until June 13th. That's what's scheduled. So
Right. You've already set us a scheduled date for that already.
Well, it's assuming that you would have the third reading typically takes place at the regularly scheduled county council meeting, which would be June 13th.
Right. That if we agree for the readings, and that's agreed if we have the workshops and we have the information. If all goes accordingly, you're telling us that the next reading will be on the 13th, right?
That would be the third reading.
Right. That if all goes according to what we have.
Correct.
Okay.
But he was saying that we would have another workshop.
A workshop prior to.
Right.
You are telling us when we have another workshop.
We
right?
need to have a
Well,
workshop.
I'm guessing that you're going to want to have another workshop.
Right.
I'm not saying that you need to. I mean, I'd be happy if, if you feel that you don't need another workshop, we'll just go forward. Anyway. Okay. And then, there'll be a public hearing, third reading on June 13th.
Mr. Park, Mr. Chairman, last week.
Go ahead.
Mr. Park, the next workshop, I mean, I noticed that we keep going over line by line, the sheriff department budget. We need to do that on every budget, on every department, line by line. We need you there and need you going over just like you do for the sheriff department.
And I did include the full document of the budget in the packet, but I mean,
Yeah, we need you to go.
I
Want you to go over that for the public, make it clear, line by line. I know it's going to take some time.
Okay,
But-
whatever the will of the council is.
I definitely want to go line by line with all these other departments in here like that too.
If you look at public notice, this is what a public notice page will look like. This is the format. I filled the numbers in based on what is currently in your packet. As you can see, the total revenues and operating budget for the prior year was $13,904,125. Based on our current information, that number is $14,369,715, 3.3% increase. And based on, there again, the maximum tax increase, this is what the millage rates would look like. The only change would be in county ordinary, which would be a 7 increase. There again, just because the public notice goes out, the determination in terms of what that actual millage rate is based on your approval. You do have to provide public notice.
Mr. Park, the question you have in the 14, is that just with where we're at now, taking the $300,000 out of fund balance and the $500,000 from the tax increase?
That is without considering any of the other, that is without considering any of the other requests. There was 4 requests that were on that previous slide are not in that amount. So let's go.
Being this slide right here, Mr. Parker.
That's correct. None of those are considered. So one of the discussions made, I think is important, is to look at particularly those requests to determine which request you would want us to consider and not consider.
Because with that, all we can do is 7.9, so anything else, any dollar, any penny would have to come out of fund reserve, fund balance. I mean, I just want to make that.
Absolutely.
And so the public hearing, the public that you've got published, is that would, that's, nothing changes from that point?
That's correct. No, none of these items are included in that number. Obviously, the adopted budget is most likely going to be different than what we actually advertise because obviously budgets are estimates and subject to changing modifications.
I agree that budgets are estimates, but I also agree that we have to have an educated estimate of what, and my main issue is we presenting a snapshot, but this is a very comprehensive budget that we need to go line by line to ensure that every dollar is accounted for before we have a magic number of that 14 million, you know, because these are these people tax dollars that we're talking about. And I want to make sure, and I didn't vote for the budget last year because I wasn't educated enough to make a decision about voting for that budget. And this year is no different. I feel very uncomfortable voting for a budget when honestly, if somebody asks me about it, I can't give them a very articulate answer about why I voted yes for a budget that's going to maybe include a tax millage increase in their dollars. I'm not a mathematician. I can't do your job, but I can count. And I really do think that we need to take this budget process more seriously than we really have been, to ensure that when we have that third reading and we're saying yes to a approved budget, that we can look our citizens in the face and tell them we did our very, very best to make sure that every dime was accounted for before we asking for more money from our citizens to pay for our county to operate in the condition that it's in.
All right, well, we do have another workshop, and it's going to be a very tough one trying to find some more money in, but we'll,
Do you have any proposed time and date for the workshop? So I know we got some other things on our table, but that's the thing. We usually have these workshops just a week or so before our regular council meeting. And in all fairness, the request, I sent you as chairperson some items of things that I felt that was necessary for us to even make a informed decision about the budget to the finance department, such as the cash register, how checks were written. I don't have that in my package. I know they've given us the salaries, but not only that, there were some other specific things that were related. So for me, I would actually know, this is my first time sitting on this process with you, but this is not my first time working with budgets. And one of the things, you would have to be very clear. It's almost looking internally to say that we see the same thing. So when the time the auditor comes, we'll say, well, we know that those figures were there. Not to act like I'm a mathematician either. But I know that there's a lot of things in these packages, I think I have 52 things marked that I have a question about. I'm not gonna take up time tonight and answer these 52 things, but they're in everybody's budget. I mean, I see overtime in some departments that I would like to understand, especially if the job hours, if I'm working 8:30 to 5, that's 8.5 hours. Or we automatically make sure people get a lunch break, even the law said that you don't have to give a person a lunch break, but I see overtime in offices that are closed at 5. It's little things like that. So, and I see things like professional development, some of them jump from 4,000 to 50,000, those kinds of things. I would like very much to be very specific. I don't want to tear the sheriff department or detention budget apart when there's a lot of other big budgets in here. I just don't want to, I want to be fair to all organizations, all community people. And I'm not hopping on one particular budget. We were fair enough. I want to be looking through, we all look through all of them, and we highlight things that we have seen. I took the time and I highlighted my stuff, and I know that the rest of you probably did so too. And I think it's only fair. This is a presentation we've already had. I know the sheriff took about 40 minutes to say what he had to say and everybody else, but I want to get to the meat of all these other budgets.
All right, well, we do need to come up with the time for our next workshop. I know with our other meeting we got, you want to add it on top of that?
Not for next week. I mean,
Well, that was, okay, so that was going to be the 24th. We were going to meet back with,
What about something like more of a retreat where we can spend a few hours, like at least 3 or 4 hours? I mean, a retreat type thing is where we relax and talk about it, we look at it, but having a meeting where it's just an hour and I know people have to go to work. I respect that. I'm blessed that I don't have to go to work, but I respect anyone who's on a 12-hour shift and you have to go to work and you're sitting here, and I know this is a tedious job, and we got just getting some information presented to us today, but there's a lot of information that we clearly don't have. We don't have a lot of information. I mean, when you bundle everything up in a slot like this, for me, I want to digest all of it.
okay, we do have a meeting for the, I think that Wednesday, May 24th. That was with Find Great People.
Mr. Park, what date did you have up there, May 20?
I had May 23rd, which would be it would be 2 weeks from tonight.
That is to meet the public requirement to post a budget.
Well, no, that would just be the workshop.
Just the workshop for that.
We would actually post the public notice the day prior.
Okay.
22nd.
22nd. The 22nd is what I had, yeah, to meet public notice.
And so when we do that, that's how we'll be posting that. We've had our workshop, then we'll have a third meeting to say the public's going to have their input, third hearing.
The public would have input at the public hearing.
Which is the meeting, which will be our council.
Which will be our
That's the
council.
June,
13th.
Council meeting.
yeah, June
That'll be
13th.
June 13th.
So that's one workshop.
Mr. Chairman, last year we had about 4 or 5 workshops between second and third reading because it was all about, going in incremental tax increase. So to meet this, then there was 3 or 4 meetings, back to back to back last year between second and third reading.
We've had meetings, but we really hadn't dug into to make sure that we're really informed. Yeah, the snapshots look good, and I know you put a lot of work into your snapshots. I'm not dismissing that at all. But this is a lot of information to put into a snapshot, and I know for a fact that we're almost gonna have to raise the millage, and that means my taxes are gonna increase. Everybody out here, taxes are gonna increase. I wanna make sure that I can look my constituents in the face and look, we did all we could before we made a decision to increase your taxes, and before I get 1,000 phone calls, because I got them last year. And I had to explain to them, I didn't vote for the budget, but there was things that were unavoidable. And yeah, we can say that there was some years that we didn't go up on millage. We can say that, but we're not in that period now. We're in a tight crunch right now. And that's why I want to make sure that all of these numbers are not just really phantom or estimate numbers. We getting as close to the pie as we need to make sure that every dime that we're putting in this budget is going to be accounted for, because if I'm looking at 22 and 23 budget and I'm looking at the final line and there was only 10,000 of 25,000 lines spent, I don't even know where the other $15,000 at, and is it going back into this budget year right now so we can decrease the cost that we're looking at putting on the taxpayers.
Well, we've got a meeting called for next
Mr. Park.
Tuesday. So,
In 2022, the millage increase was 5 mills, right?
Yes.
That was for the increase in the waste treatment or the garbage treatment, and also the addition of 2 sheriff's vehicles, right?
Well, we had a number of increases in expenses, and one of the things that happened as a result of, what we've seen is obviously record inflation. And what that's done is it's put upward pressure on compensation. And I think compensation had a significant impact, on last year's budget, and it's still having an impact on this year's budget.
In 2021, we had a 0 increase, right?
Correct.
And in 2020, we had a $5 million increase for putting in the EMS service, right?
That was for EMS, yes.
So 2 out of the last 3 years, we've gone up 10 meals, and 1 year we didn't go up anything. I just want public to know, we are working to try and, as Dr. Johnson has said, we want to watch every penny, and we try and do that every time. And like Jason said, we'll have 4 or 5 workshops between the second and third reading where we can fine tune a lot of this, Last year, we started out, we were around 10, 12 meals increase, and we worked that down to where we only had a 5 meal increase, and that was the bare minimum to cover and make the budget balance, so.
When we got to the end of last fiscal year, we were very close. I mean, we ended up with an increase of about $160,000 in fund balance, which on, $13 million worth of expenditures is really close.
So we've still got a long ways to work, but like I said, we're gonna have to put a lot of time into it, as Dr. Johnson says, to make sure that we fine tuning everything to where if we do go up, it's gonna be the bare minimum we have to go up to make things match.
I believe we can add this to our next Tuesday's meeting, that'll be May 16th, and that'll put the jump on this. We can't get one sooner than that.
I thought.
Well, we might add another, we might have to add
I would
another.
be glad to go through we can send out the same document we sent out in regards to the itemized listing of revenues and expenditures, and then plan to go through that document in detail. It is an extensive document.
Mr. Chairman, and other council members, I think that, we might be looking at June the 13th as a deadline. It don't have to be June 13th as a deadline to do the final reading. So we'll have to cram for workshop. We do need workshop. We do need 3 or 4 workshops, but if we don't get everything approved or get to a point where we are satisfied by June 13th, we just schedule another meeting like we always do. We can schedule another meeting June 20th or June 27th to finalize the budget. So, yes, ma'am.
What you have to do is when you advertise the public hearing, you have to have the public hearing on that day.
Right.
But you can't have it on June the 13th. However, the third reading, you do not have to approve that night as long as you have the budget approved by the last day of June. You will be fine. You can continue to have meetings after that date. It does not have to be
June
what you
13th,
approved
right.
in the public hearing.
Thank you, Susan. But that was the point I was getting at. Once we do the public hearing on June the 13th, that's in stone. We'll always back it up when we, as a body, say, okay, I think we done got to the nicks and cracks and clean out the corners, and then we say, okay, now we're gonna have a meeting. I don't care if, like Susan said, the last day of the month. For the last reading. So, we still have, we don't have to say June 13th is the deadline. It's not the deadline. Like the clerk of the council said, we can have the public hearing on the 13th, and if we need some more time to do the final reading, we have the time to do that.
You were saying we could not do it on May 16th, next Tuesday?
I think that May 23rd.
I'd be glad to have, we could have a workshop on May 16th, we could have another one on May 23rd, we could have one.
Well, we're meeting anyway on May 16th.
May 16th is for May 16th. It's going to be a little bit more in-depth.
Right, but if you wanted to have more time to work on it,
Yeah, we need just the budget.
Right.
We need to do just the budget, but we'll be meeting anyway on the 16th, but we're gonna be doing another issue. So when we focus on the budget, we just need just budget, nothing else but budget.
I say 2 weeks from the date
The
that you have
23rd, I like 23rd also.
can we do the 24th? Y'all okay with 24th? I think I'm there.
Yeah, the 20th. You said 23rd, right?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, 23rd.
You said 24th.
Yeah, I might have a conflict on the 23rd.
that. I've actually got a conflict on the 21st.
All right, so
Rock, paper, scissors.
we'll see. We'll see if we can make 23rd work. You got 20, how about 25th?
See,
All right.
this is what's gonna happen. It's gonna be things coming up in Memorial Day weekend. It's gonna be a lot coming up in May. We know that. A lot comes up in May. And each time, there's gonna be some scheduled things.
Okay. 23rd, at 6 o'clock meeting?
Yes.
And go?
Go budget.
That's a Tuesday. I tell you what, you want to just say 5 o'clock? Y'all good with 5?
Make it do,
All right.
make it do what it do.
I mean, that's, people getting off. Let's say 6 o'clock on the 23rd. Okay, are there any other questions for Mr. Park? Okay, so we will look forward to working with you on the 23rd.
Mr. Chair, can we ask Mr. Park to provide us with the necessary documents that we really need to be thoroughly looking at with this budget, please, sir?
I'll be glad to send out, documents.
Okay.
He's aware of what we need.
Right. Well, I know that you had sent out email asking documents from, I guess from West. Did you receive that?
We saw that, but their staff thing doesn't include the breakdown of the revenue expenditure. Staff budget, this information that she's given us doesn't include some of these other things that should be a part of the budget process.
Okay, relay that to Ms. Sumter or?
No, I had to send it to you because you were the chair and I couldn't send them in.
Oh, that'd be fine. Give it, let me
Okay.
know what you want.
Okay.
And I'll see to it that you get it.
All right.
But I'm just gonna call Ms. Sumter or Mr. Park. All right, thank you. Moving on to old business. I got ordinance 834, a ordinance authorizing Marlboro County to renew the agreement with the town of McCall to provide fire protection service within the designated unincorporated area of Marlboro County. This is the third reading.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask a motion to table ordinance 834, having a discussion with Chief Lottler. He wants us, our Public Safety Committee, which is Jason, myself, and Dr. Johnson, to have a review of that ordinance and agreement, and maybe we might could do it Tuesday when we have it. It should take us just a few minutes.
He won't be here. Well, yeah, all right.
Will you be here, Dr.?
I won't, but you will move forward.
Okay.
I'll second that, table that.
Is that fine?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Well, so the May 16th meeting, you will not be here. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we'll table that until, well, are you good with that being on the agenda? Okay. All right, we'll table that for the.
Motion, I need a second.
May 16th meeting, but we need a
I
motion.
seconded the motion
Okay.
to table it. Now you got to vote.
All in favor? That's unanimous. Okay. All right, moving on down to ordinance 836, a ordinance to adopt the annual budget and to make appropriations for Marlboro County for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024. This is the second reading.
Mr. Chairman, for the second time and to keep everything moving forward, understanding there'll be a lot of workshop and conversation is, I move we approve ordinance 836, second reading.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Let's see, what's the count? All right, we got, Dr. Johnson, you approve?
With the provisions in place, yes.
Okay. So what was the count? 4,
So
Five.
what's the provisions in place then?
That we have those workshop meetings.
With the workshops in place.
Workshops,
Yeah,
with the S, workshops, right?
Workshops.
correct.
I would agree then.
Got that?
Unanimous.
Says you did.
Unanimous.
All right, unanimous now.
Thank you.
All right, moving to new business, Resolution 05-2301, a resolution to accept the fiscal year 2024 solid waste grant in the amount of $21,000.
So moved.
A second.
All right, all in favor? Unanimous? Moving to Resolution 05-2302, a resolution authorizing submission of grant application to the South Carolina Rural Development Authority by Marlboro County for facility and equipment purchases under the Community Facilities Program for Marlboro County government in an amount not to exceed $50,000 and authorizing to accept grant if awarded.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept resolution 05-2302. Anytime we get an opportunity to get a grant, if we award it, free money, I think we need to, take advantage of that. So I make a motion we accept this.
We got a second?
I get a discussion. Is this the same grant that?
Same grant.
For you and the sheriff's department? You can apply for it multiple times. This is just
Correct.
you approve it one time, you can apply for it as many times as possible.
That's correct.
Okay. I just want for clarification.
Any other questions? All right, moving along.
To the vote.
Yeah, moving on to the vote. Everybody in favor? Got it. Unanimous. All right, moving on to ordinance 837, a ordinance to approve the capital improvement plan for Marlboro County for the period of fiscal year 2024 through fiscal year 2028.
Mr. Chairman, I don't recall seeing a capital improvement plan for this span.
First reading, title only.
What title on?
Just title.
Will it be that they just title only, so we can move the process forward? Ordinance 837, I make a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? All right, Dr. Johnson?
Abstain.
Abstain? All right, 7 and 1 abstention. All right. Got a scheduled workshop meeting for discussion of the 23-24 operating budget, and I believe we've got, that was the,
May 23rd.
yep, at 6 o'clock. All right, moving along to the appointments to boards and commissions. I know we have on the agenda the consideration of request from Marlboro County Economic Development Partnership Board.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we table this motion in lieu of us going back through the ordinances and ensuring that we have appropriate governance from the ordinance.
All right. Is there a second to table?
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Favor? It's unanimous. We did have another board, government.
You mentioned that you would put the PD card, but it was not on the agenda.
Now, we
So
can do that if you'd like to
Can we add that to
vote
the
on that.
agenda now?
Yes,
No,
but, I mean,
I'm not sure.
this is for, all boards, and we need an appointment to that board.
Council. The council.
Yeah, big council. Right now, I think Anthony serves on that board.
If it is appropriate, can I just refer to the lawyer right quick a minute, please? Sir, Mr. McLeod, we are in the process of adding to the agenda another appointment. We were looking at the board's appointments. And one of the things that we talked about is adding another board to our agenda. We talked about our PD council, government board. Is that appropriate to put this on this board, or do we need to have that in the package with another meeting.
Well, if you want to be safe, I would wait and do it in another meeting.
It is the safe thing, because it's freedom of information.
Correct. I think if you want to make sure, take
Yes,
all
sir.
necessary precautions.
Yes,
if
sir.
you have any doubts or questions about it.
Thank you very much for your recommendation.
And just to be clear, Anthony, you still serve?
Yes, I do.
Councilman Wood, and Dr. Prince was on that board.
Right,
Well,
and
we
Court
need to-
Plato.
Okay. All right, we'll put that on the next regular meetings agenda. Okay, moving to the reports, the finance report, Mr. Parker. Oh, did it? Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, my bad. I made my notes all over,
You got amended
yep,
agenda.
okay, so we need, yeah, right, oh, yeah, okay, thank you. We have on the agenda the discussion of Broad Street property demolition per council member Ken Stroman request, and we have speakers Yvette and Emil Douglas and other concerned merchants of the downtown area that might affect. Ms. Douglas, how you doing?
Good evening to everyone in respective places. My name is Marlboro Douglas, and I come as a concerned citizen and as an advocate for children. I come with a petition that I have. We did undersign the proposal to demolish the county building on 216 Wall Street, Bentonville, South Carolina, and propose that it be refurbished as a skating rink for recreation for our children. We call on the Marlboro County Council to, one, reject the proposed plan to demolish the building, fully consult with the residents on any future proposals. Marlboro County lacks affordable family recreation that can be supported by children, youth, and adults of any socioeconomic status. A skating rink will provide a unique opportunity for a family to spend quality time together and will generate income for our county. The council's own target includes encouraging economic growth and providing affordable, safe, and quality recreation for all citizens. A skating rink will build a positive relationship. And also, it doesn't have to just be a skating rink. It could be a YMCA, it could be a bowling alley, it could be a movie theater. But how can we justify spending $285,000 on a building to demolish it? If it's in that bad shape, you all being good stewards should have got a better deal than that. You're talking about $285,000 for a building, over $130,000 to tear it down. That's not even including what it's going to take for your electric cars and to do the parking lot. So you're right at $500,000 for a glorified parking lot, when we don't have anything for our children. The most popular place for our children now is the funeral home and the graveyard. We say our children are bad, but they're bored. There's nothing to do. Beach traffic is seasonal. When they come through, they're coming through Cottonham, hitting the bypass, going to 38. They're going to go to KFC, Cookout, and McDonald's because they're going to the beach where the real food is. There's going to be too much congestion coming through town. Not only that, you're going to have to spend money on billboards and all kinds of marketing to get the people to know that you're downtown. We say in our mission statement that you're providing the resources to enhance the economic growth and the quality of life of Marlboro County. Well, there is no life. We're drying up. Our children are our life. Even when I go to Savannah or go to Amelia Island to visit, there's things to do there for recreation for families. We have enough eating stations. Food trucks are called food trucks for a reason. They're mobile. They go. If we have food trucks just past sitting there, you selling chicken, I'm selling chicken. You selling hot dogs, I'm selling hot dogs. We're not going to make but $2. And then we have to pay this 2% taxes for hospitality. My family is in the food truck business, and what they do is they park and they go from place to place. You say what Florence had, we have no comparison to Florence in economics, in resources, population, none of that. If you want to take some things that Florence are doing that's successful, why don't you take adopting that program they have where they have the tiny houses for the homeless? We have so many things that we can do, and this will bring revenue. I can't see any revenue in a rest area because I can go to McDonald's and use the bathroom. I plead with you. I have over 500 citizens here that have signed that feels the same, and I'm going to continue to go. So I want you all to consider the children. You are in place to make good judgment, and $500,000 on a glorified parking lot is a disservice to this community and a slap in the face to our youth. I thank you for your time. I hope you will consider what I said, and you all be blessed.
Okay, and I think also on that is, Emil.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bill Douglas. I don't mean to be redundant, but I'm also an advocate for kids. I've been working with kids probably half of my life. I actually moved back here 2 years ago, and being in the capacity of nonprofit organizations, working with AMI kids, with kids that are institutionalized at a young age, they all share a similar background to where I came from, which is here, right in Marlboro County. I got educated here, and we had a little bit, but we made do with what we had. But it's just discouraging coming back. And I mean, me and my wife and I, we have a business called Utopia Room on Broad Street. It's just, I see a lot of people trying to come and give a hand, but we either don't have the resources as far as the information on how to progress and develop that. And I see a lot of people leaving for opportunity and development. So my plight would be, what way could the younger and older generation bridge that gap? I'm big on historical preservation. I believe in heritage, but I think it should be inclusive. And I think that we should come up with ways not just to get entertainment and recreation for our youth, but to also cater to the older generation that is here as well and try to coincide those things like my mother just stated. Going to some of these historical smaller towns, they have a story behind what's there in the city. So I think Bennettsville has something to offer in this. Never to speak out to bash any member of the council, because we appreciate all the things that you do to contribute to our community to try to get it better. But it has to be an answer, and I think we overlook the voice of all the people, like an inclusive voice. I think exclusively we have some individuals that have more of a say-so than others, and I think the county is kind of responding by leaving. And if we continue to get people that leave once the older generation fades out, what do we have? People in my age group, I mean, I'm the youngest person here speaking, like no one else in my age group is here, and they honestly don't care, and they're leaving for opportunity. I know plenty of people that's leaving for opportunity. So, in the money that we're getting, could it be a way that small business owners like myself and people that are coming trying to make an impact and change the community in the small ways that we can we collaborate and give workshops for that? Even if it's information, if you just point us in the right direction, I think that it shouldn't just be catered to young alone. I think it should be inclusive, and I think it should be multi-generational, because that's how we can teach the youth to carry on the legacy of Marlboro County and just get some specifics on what we need to do to make this problem resolved. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Also, on that same topic, Councilman Burt Odom request Rachel McDonald and Melissa Millette. Would you like to? Yeah.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to address this council tonight. I'm Rachel McDonald, and I own Nomad Cafe and Coffee Company, which is on Marlboro Street. It's parallel to Broad. Before we opened Nomad in early 2021, we were already owners of 123 Broad Street. Some of you may know this as the old bank building. We purchased the Broad Street building while we were overseas with plans to turn it into a restaurant with fine dining, wine, and spirits. In the first 18 months, because the building was in such bad shape, we spent almost $175,000 just keeping it from falling down. Complete new roof, complete new electrics, new windows, new doors, new brick structure at the side, stabilizing all the ceiling joists and floors. But COVID happened, and there were business shutdowns. So suddenly a dine-in restaurant did not look like such an attractive option. So we did a takeaway coffee shop on Marlboro Street. Now our plans for Broad Street have not changed, but Bennettsville and Marlboro County have significantly changed. As you know, the economy here has taken a severe hit with the loss of industry. These industries have left, and our reliance on local dollars puts the local residents and business owners in a very tough position. We have a limited pool of cash that is slowly trickling out of the local economy because people have to go to their jobs in other locations. They go to other locations and fill up their cars. They go to other counties and eat their lunches. They go to other counties and get their supplies. And then they come back here with less cash than they started with. But we have a flow of tourists. This is a curse and a blessing. And it's never ending. The tourists just keep coming through. By my count, from video cameras, from traffic footage, Broad Street averages 8,000 vehicles each day, 365 days a year. Now, some of that tourist traffic does come over to Nomad. I know this. 1/3 of my business during the off-peak season are tourists who find me on Google or Yelp. And 60% of my business in the peak season, the summer months, when we all have a sense to go to the beach and mountains, that's tourism. Now, I want to say, for the building, the former Moe's Chicken, in 2017, when we were looking at buildings to buy to make a restaurant, my husband and I looked at this building. My husband is an architect and an engineer, and I can tell you without a doubt, this building will need more than $500,000 to save it. It has asbestos. The roof is failing, and in the current market conditions, that roof is going to cost in excess of $200,000 to replace. And don't get started on the HVAC system. It is not to code, it is unsafe, and you're looking at almost $150,000 just to replace that. So I say with great conviction, turning this building into a wide parking area with public washrooms and hookups for food trucks or other vendors, it will serve this community and its businesses far more than having the city act as a landlord for a building that is going to be a money pit. If 1/100 of the daily traffic on Broad Street stops at this paved lot, and only half of those people use any of the local businesses on Broad, at the average amount of my daily tourist revenue, it's a very low figure, believe me. It will be over $1 million in sales a year. Now, if 200 cars stop a day at that lot, you're going to see over $3 million in revenue. That doesn't include sales tax. That doesn't include hospitality tax. Now, I realize that we have so many needs in this community. I can show you the figures if you like. I'm happy to do so. I would suggest two things. I would suggest moving forward with turning this into a rest stop where you can charge electric vehicles and get grants to do so. Have public washrooms because there is a huge need for public washrooms in the downtown area. But perhaps we could pave around the farmers market. Let's do an outdoor skating rink track around the perimeter of the farmers market, which is still within walking distance of those public washrooms, and it's a lighted area. And number two, I would suggest a cooperative agreement with the city of Bennettsville, which collects the hospitality tax. The county should be getting that 2% back for any food revenue that is sold out of county property to maintain the property that you're going to invest in. Thank you very much for your time.
Melissa Millette,
No, thank you.
would you like to speak?
I'm all right, thank you.
Are there any other merchants for the downtown area that would like to speak on this item? Okay, if not,
Mr. Chairman. We, as a council, we did vote to demolish this building. However, we took a pause. We stopped, we took a pause, and council members were asked to go down and take a look at the building. And if the citizens could go in and look at the building themselves, they would see a building that looks like somebody just turned the key and just got out of a meeting. There's no dilapidated ceiling. Ceiling is not falling out. The floors are not buckling up. The building is in pretty good shape. And yes, you would have to put some money in fixing it up, but you're getting ready to put $100,000 in demolishing, in the ground, buried. I had an engineer, as you come in and look at the facade of the building, he didn't get in. But however, he knew that it was a grocery store and that the roofing system was supported by columns. So he didn't think that it could be a skating rink, but he did think it would be an ideal bowling alley. Ideal. We do not have to tear this building down. There's plenty of things that we can do, plenty of ideas that people can come up with, but just to demolish it, I think it would be just the wrong thing to do for the citizens of Marlboro County. That's
Mr. Chairman.
The vote has already been made. It was made several months ago, 7-1, that we were going to put a rest stop on Broad Street with electrical hookups for cars, a parking lot, an area for the food trucks to set up. They do this in Southern Pines. They do it in other areas around the PD. And 7 of us voted that we wanted to put a rest stop in there to stop that tourism business that comes through 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Rachel's right. I got the report this afternoon from DOT from 2022. The 22 report came out, and I got it from DOT from Tim McGee. 8,000 cars a day go on Broad Street. That's just the average ADU, which is the average daily use per year. Also, in peak times, holiday weekends, and in the mid-summertime, that number runs 10 to 12,000 cars a day. The number one tourism in South Carolina, number one industry in South Carolina is tourism. $29.2 billion a year, $6.6 billion a year in lodging. The vast majority of that money is spent in 3 locations. Primarily, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina is the number one draw for up and down the East Coast and all across the, out to the Midwest of people coming to Myrtle Beach. Charleston and Hilton Head, they pick up some of it, but the vast majority of that $29.2 billion is spent in Myrtle Beach. South Carolina is the 7th ranked state as far as tourists coming to our state. You know, we voted with the intent that we would build a parking lot there and stop some of those 8,000 cars to 12,000 cars a day that come through this on Broad Street to help the downtown merchants. Yes, our kids need help, and the new recreation project that we're doing, there's going to be a lot of help in there. But something that would benefit every business downtown, I would bet that if we put this thing in the way that we'd had it designed, within 2 to 3 years, there will not be a vacant building on Broad Street, and a lot of them around the corner, people will probably locate, but because we're going to have the traffic, you know. Think about it now. Like I said, 200 to 500 cars a day stopping down there every few hours. As Rachel said, people walked up to her business, they looked on the internet, they wanted to find out someplace they could rest because they didn't check in at Myrtle Beach Hotel until about 4 o'clock. But you know, we need to do something. Everybody's always talking about the downtown area. We need to help our merchants. This is the selling thing to help our downtown merchants. Put a parking lot down there where we can put 200, 300 cars every few hours there. Let those people stop, rest, use the restrooms, and contribute to our downtown merchants. You know, we've already voted 7-1 to do it, and there was one abstention, I think, in that thing. So the only way that it's going to change from doing our plan is come up with 5 votes, and that's not going to happen. You know?
Councilman Odom, if we use that logic, we can. I go through Clio, and there's that same traffic that's coming downtown Broad Street, Benefield. That same traffic is going all the way right through Clio. If we using that logic, then what about Clio? What about McCall? What about Marlboro County is more than Benefield. What does it say to our citizens that we got almost $7 million, and the bulk of that money going to something that is not necessarily gonna benefit their lives? We got almost $7 million, and we spent almost $4 million on the golf course, and we're gonna spend another $500,000 on a glorified parking lot. What does that say to everybody in the county? We got other cities in Marlboro County that could benefit from some of that traffic flow, some of all of that stuff. And I have no doubt that those figures might be correct. But what about the other areas of the county there's not one dime that we've allocated of that money outside of the 29512 area code? That is a travesty for an entire county, that we haven't looked outside of Bennettsville. And I live in Bennettsville, I love where I live. But if we're not looking out for your zip code, your zip code, your zip code, all these other zip codes, that's unfair to the entire dynamics of Marlboro County. We're not saying that those ideas are not good, but is that the best idea? It may be not. Yeah, the vote was what it was. But that does not mean that after other information coming that we can't change our minds. You can't say that every other council member won't change their mind because you won't. You can't say that. All I'm saying is there is a better use that we can think of than tearing that building down. There's a better use that, even if it's cost $300,000 to repair, it's less than what it's going to cost to tear it down and rebuild that parking lot. I'm telling you, all that traffic coming through Broad Street is going straight dang on up to 38 to hit 95 or continue to 501 down to the beach. If we get a few of them to stop, that might be good. But I don't think that's the best use when we got this free money and we haven't done. And then we talking about raising taxes coming this year. How you gonna raise my taxes when you got free money and you ain't doing anything for me? Why you gonna raise my taxes?
Mr. Chair, may I have the floor, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Chair and members, and I want to say, first I want to point out this. We got an email from Mr. Douglas and Mr. Emile about 15 days prior to our meeting. I didn't see any type, and no disrespect to Ms. Rachel McDowell from Nomad, I didn't see any request giving notice that she or anyone want to appear on the agenda. However, she's here and she's spoken. The question for me is, I did go inside the building. Yes, the building was dark. We had to go in with a flashlight and we had to kind of look around. But I'm gonna say what I saw for myself. The way it was described to us, if you even pulled the door open, you were afraid that the hinges would fall off. That's what I was thinking, or the roof would just tumble down on you. That didn't happen for me. I did have an opportunity because it was put to us, go, let's look at the building, give it 30 days, let us go look at the building. I did go in there, and I can honestly say that for a vision for me, I didn't see buckling floors, I didn't even see holes in the walls. I didn't see where buckets were put for rainwater. I didn't realize that we were using a flashlight. I thought that was unfair, because if I'd known I was just gonna go for a flashlight, I would have brought my camping light and I would have been able to see it all over and take pictures. But I did take pictures on the outside of that building. I took pictures on the outside with those bricks and the makeup of that building. And I'm not saying that, I'm having to be so suspicious, but one of the things that we did not get a chance is, we did not have the public have any input to say what are some of the other things. Why during this council meeting before I came on here, why would you put us proposed to think the city was gonna be such our partners, which they've proven not to be, why would we expect the city and the council would pay that amount of money to purchase a building, then turn around and say, now we're just gonna demolish the building? Why would we have invested that type of money in the first place? I know that those decisions were made, and I'm not knocking any person who made those decisions, because you at that time may have felt that those were the right decisions. But always, when property has even been sold or purchased, there should have been a public hearing anyway, and we did not have that. Mr. McLeod, I want to ask that question. When we have buildings and purchasing things, should not a public hearing been held?
Well,
Through the Freedom of Information Act.
it was voted on in county council. I don't know that that's necessarily a requirement for the purchase of the property.
We haven't, when Freedom of Information Act lets us know that when we're purchasing property or selling property, it has to be a public hearing. I pulled the information from the Freedom of Information Act. It was voted on in council, and the ordinance was passed and purchased.
And nothing strange happened. I mean,
I'm just
we
thinking
went through
enough input from the public may not have been.
And this did not require a public hearing, but with the Douglases coming, I think, and the importance of this tonight.
Right.
I mean, I hear what you said about letting Ms. McDonald speak, but I mean, we're about to vote on a bid to tear this down. I think, and I called on any other merchant, Fort Bendelsville, to come up here and speak. If anybody would like to come up and make a speech on that or a comment, I let it open to the floor. So this is.
You did, but for some reason, in our email, when we got this, and our with reference to our clerk to council, it was like some question about whether those people's names could be put on the agenda to even speak. And all due respect to you, Ms. Rivers, I don't want to pull you out, but that was it. I tend to see that there was a reason not to.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak?
Yes.
The first notice I saw, and I went back through my emails, I do not know if it's because of our firewall bot. I did not get the email from this couple. The first notice I got was last Thursday. Okay. Information request to go on the agenda is supposed to be submitted the Thursday before you had your agenda meeting. You were supposed to have had your agenda meeting last week, which means.
I think time frame was.
But you understand what I'm saying? It was not submitted. I did my best. I sent the draft agenda to you, Mr. Stroman, and Mr. Jason last Monday. That was the draft. I heard nothing. On Tuesday, I sent the final proposed agenda. I also notified that packets would be delivered on Thursday. I stayed over on Wednesday evening to have the packets ready so they could go out Thursday morning. So council had plenty of time to look at the budget request. I came in Thursday morning. I work part-time. Okay, I've been working more time than I was supposed to be working because I want to help you. I'm trying to do everything I can to help you. I came in on Thursday morning. I got ready to push my button, and here I see all this stuff coming. Okay?
And that was after the packets.
That was after the packets.
So it was a procedural.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, however, they met the threshold of it being illegal. State law mandates that you have 13 days to request to be placed on the agenda. They met the threshold. They sent it to county council. Now, whether county council failed to send it to you, Ms. Rivers, that's not on you. That's on us. That's on us. Two, at $40,000, $50,000 a piece, we only have one. We changed somewhere. We voted to buy a bank building down there for $250,000. We changed our mind. So just because you do a vote, precedents have been set that you don't have to actually go through with it evidently. So, you know, my thing is this. We are all here for the citizens of Marlboro County. We're not here for the tourists that drive through. The tourists drive through Marlboro County on Sunday, they're going home. If you think they're gonna stop for a food truck that they've already spent all of their money at Buster's down at the beach there, forget the other name. I think we're deceiving ourselves.
Mr. Chairman.
There are better things that we can do. That's all we're saying. Stop as a council, take a second look at this building. Let's see what we can do.
Mr. Chairman, we've been given 30 days to look at this building, and I think all I have heard tonight, that the other option to trying to build a state-of-the-art parking lot, and you're right, this thing is going to deal with a lot of tourists and stuff, but tourists are who are coming through here, and it's not just on Sunday, Mr. Strowman. Yeah, they're going home on Sunday.
Where was
But
those
tourists-
statistics?
Mr. Strowman, I got the floor.
Where was those statistics?
Mr. Strowman, I've got the floor.
When we were talking about the.
I've got the floor, Mr. Strowman.
Those same statistics.
You have a line.
Mr. Strowman, I've got the floor.
Please.
Those tourists come through here 7 days a week. You're right, they're going home on Sunday and stuff. But you know, the vote was 7-1. We all knew that building was coming down when we took the vote, and we took the vote that we were going to build a world-class rest stop with restrooms, facilities, hookups for electric cars, and try and stop that traffic, which they, if you lock now, they stop all over Billings when they coming through Billings. They stop down at McDonald's, at Burger King, at Kentucky Fried Chicken, taking rest and stuff. Sometimes you'll see the same vehicle sitting there for an hour. They're taking a rest before they go to the beach and stuff. But you know, we are missing out on a lot of money that could be spent in the downtown area, which this downtown area, and I think all the merchants will verify, they need help down here. And the people in this county, we're always here, and we could be helping them, but it's not happening. So what we need to do, we need to capitalize on these 8,000 to 12,000 cars a day that come down Broad Street, and that is the updated number that just came out for 2022. And we need to, if you look at it, pick their pockets to stop a lot of that money right here in these local merchants in the downtown area and build this economy up in the downtown area. The only option I've heard tonight is a bowling alley, and we're gonna have to spend, what, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 to put a bowling alley in a building that's not gonna bring any income to any merchant in this downtown area.
But we spent $4 million on a golf court that's not gonna bring a dime to any of these same merchants that we're talking about.
That's beside the point, Dr. Johnson. We all voted for it except you.
Thank you.
No, and I wasn't on council, so I didn't vote.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I have the floor, please? And Councilmember, I hope y'all give me the respect of not interrupting. You may agree what I say, you may disagree what I say. But I will sit back up there, being quiet when everybody spoke. I want the same courtesy. When we voted, it was 7-1. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a game changer. As we done then, we lost a county administrator, the second man in charge, he gone. Now, why can't, the building already purchased. We all got the building. If the building sat there 5 more years, it still belong to Marlboro County. If we tear it down in 2025, we tear it down in 2025. If we tear it down this year, that'd be fine. But what I'm thinking, and my thought is this, we got new leadership coming in. Period. We have new leadership coming in Marlboro County. We got new leaders already at the city. We have new leadership at the school board. We have new leadership here at Marlboro County Council, an administrator. Why can't we allow this new person to come in and give his or her input, along with our input? They might have a better vision. They might have additional vision. The only thing I'm saying, we do not, he had to go down here wide up with no brakes. That building's not going nowhere as long as we got it. If we decide to say, well, let's sell it, we can always sell it. It belongs to Marlboro County. Now, when we had the, I would have wanted to vote it on tearing it down and do the food truck, the electric things and everything else. I like that idea. But then we had a vision one way, now we got other people sharing their ideas another way. There's nothing wrong with changing our mind, okay? And when we look at the opportunity of doing the food truck, doing the car thing, electronic cars, we was up under the impression that why can't we as a county work together? We saw the city, and we had the city, and we met with the city. And they said, we like the idea too. Now with the city and the county working together, that would have been a big burden financially. The burden would have been lighter. The city pull out. Now when the city pull out, that's another game changer. When things change, we got to change with the thing, with the time. We don't have to be in a hurry, but I'm looking at the new leadership. We got a new slate, people, a brand new slate. We don't have to impress nobody, we don't have to cater to anybody, but we got a whole new slate coming in, and that person that be sitting in that chair beside Mr. McLeod, him or her, go come in and say, well, y'all got that laid out, I'm not gonna sit down, I ain't gotta do nothing. But let that person get some input, to advise us accordingly, or we can say, look, what you think? Mr. Blueberry might have a great idea. But the only thing I'm saying is that we don't have to be running downhill without no brakes, trying to prove a point. Say, well, we voted on this. Yes, we did. But then we never said when we going to tear it down. We said we going to tear it down. It was 7-1 vote. But we don't have to do it until we ready. And if we vote on this thing and it don't pass, it's dead in the water. I don't. My suggestion is we wait after we get the new administrator come in, we get another 2 man to come in, and then we can go back to the table and readdress it. Look at the whole big picture all again. And we cannot ask the citizens of Marlboro County for every decision that we do. Y'all voted us in. Some decisions got to be made by council, not by the public. Because we got 26,000 people, 26,000 ideas. If anything we do, we invite the public to give input on everything we do, we're never gonna have nothing accomplished. Well, I want this, I want that. They voted us in to be their voice. Now, yeah, we're supposed to listen to them, but we can't, every time we come to a decision, well, let's go citizen. We can't citizen for everything we do, because that's what we up here for. They voted us here to make key decision at key time. And I'm through, Mr. Chair.
I think everybody's had something to say except Councilman Blackman.
I just think at this point, we just need to just take a look at it, and we don't know what the best use is for it yet, so let's don't do anything. That's what I think. And then let's get back on the drawing board again with it. And I don't know, in the end, all those may decide to tear it down, or we may decide to make a bowling alley, or may decide to do something different. I don't know, but I agree that we need to all look at it again and come together on it. So I think that's where we need to be with it.
Councilman Steen, I don't know if you put.
No, it's, listening to everybody, we do have multiple concerns and issues that everybody's addressed, from youth to adults to seniors to downtown merchants, parking, from increased business. You see our budget up here, we're taking revenue. We've only got a certain revenue coming into the county. That's all that's coming from tax base. So we do need to capitalize on tourism money, but we do need to look at everything else. So I would be in agreement with, sounds like the majority of it to table this until we have some more input on it.
I will add that whatever the outcome is, all of us up here, we're unified. We want the best for Marlboro County and the Marlboro County citizens. And both of them are ideas that can be argued. But I'm personally, I like the chance to attract some tourists to come to town. I see them parking on the courthouse square, walking their dog, and cleaning up after themselves. But this is a good spot, resting spot. So, but when we need a motion in one
Mr.
direction.
Chairman, I make a motion, we table this, setting up bids for the demolition of the courthouse-owned property on Broad Street. Got my motion to table it.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor to table this? All right, I guess I'll jump into, all right, it's unanimous. Okay, so we will not accept any bids. Move down to the finance report. Mr. Park.
Have before you the financial report for the period ending April 30th, 2023. For those 10 months ending that date, our revenues were $11,461,932. When we compare that with the prior year of $10,485,223. General fund expenditures through April 30th, 2023 total $11,262,363 of a $13,904,125 budget, or 81% of budget year to date. Expenditures for the 10 months ending April 30th, 2022 total $9,620,314. In summary, income is higher, but not as much as expenditures for the same period year to date. Any questions? I'm glad to entertain those.
Are there any
Mr. Chair,
questions?
I have a couple of questions for you, Mr. Park. Mr. Park, and this has to do with the American Rescue Plan Project expenditure report. Do we have that report?
This is general fund only.
Okay, I know it's general fund, so I can't answer that question here. But I'm going to direct this to the chair later because I know there was a deadline date for that.
We have done a reporting on the American Rescue Plan funding. And of course, the Broad Street parking project was one of those projects that we reported on in terms of expenditures year to date. So we reported on that. We reported on, of course, the golf course, and I'm trying to think whether or not we got any other expenditures within this last year's period.
That brings me to this point, Mr. Chair. The general fund budget that we're looking at now, right? We see these funds and we see the expenditures and we see the income from these funds.
Correct.
Now, the other accounts, where would those monies be?
Those are, we've got probably another 50-odd funds that we, do accounting on. And of course, on an annual basis, you get an extensive audit report, which is about 100 pages long. It's very complex. And anyway, all of those funds are reported within that report. So you get a monthly report on the general fund, which is the fund that you're required to provide a budget on and adopt a budget on an annual basis. And of course, those other funds are intended to be self-balancing. They've got revenues that at least equal the expenditures.
And with all due respect, Mr. Chair, I do appreciate what Mr. Park and I appreciate what everyone in our county office does. I really do. I'm not going to even pretend I don't. I do, because I know finance is hard work. But it goes again that we're looking at the general fund and we focusing just on the general fund money. But the monies that came from that American Rescue Plan funding was a large sum of money that we have I put it like this. I'm a member of this council, and I know that I'm not on the finance committee. So the finance committee, Mr. Park is the finance director, and some of you may be able to say that you see it, but that is not full disclosure. However, I'm gonna stick to the budget. I'm gonna stick with the budget items, and in this budget item, I see some things. One of the things I have circled, let's look at the item, I'll tell you which one in particular I really want to look at. Expenditure, item number 4240. 04240.
Okay, that's for the corner?
No, it's,
0, 4. 40?
4240.
Solicitor?
Okay.
Is that budget included in this, when we threw out?
Yes, it is.
It's included in our budget
It's
package?
in the budget packet, yes, it is.
And all the things that that this department wants inside the budget package?
That's correct.
I may have missed mine, but I need to really, I may have missed mine. So I'll look again. I thought I was highlighting everything, but I noticed it's zeroed out. Is that correct?
The solicitors, what are you saying in this budget?
Right, it's zeroed out. Let me look at the columns here, tell us how much we have left. Is that right?
You've got a budget balance, and then you've got a, let's see, this is on revenue, let's see, I'm sorry, I was looking on revenue. Solicitor's office, the budget 124,300, current expenditure 0, year-to-date expenditures 124,300. So that's what was budgeted for the year, and we've dispersed the full amount of that budget to the solicitor's
So
office.
everything's in there is zeroed out.
Everything that was requested has been dispersed.
And for the county administrative budget,
Okay.
where that will be
That's
4102.
4102, yes.
And that's what we have left in that budget there now?
That is correct. We've got.
And that will take care of,
Well, I don't know what will the remaining balance will take care of. It looks like the expenditures are going to exceed budget.
right. So let me just look at this. Clerk to court, clerk to council works, monies is in that budget, right?
The clerk,
That's what it says in here?
let's see, yes.
Okay.
The clerk is in that budget, yes.
Today is May 9th. And I don't know what the salary is for the clerk, but once that goes over, and this amount is, I'm not sure what the date, Mr. Chairman, I asked the clerk of court what's her last date.
I'm glad to tell you exactly what I went wrong.
No, I'm talking about last date. No, ma'am.
Well, my last official date was supposed to be this coming Friday, but I've been trying to help y'all through to get a clerk of council because you don't have anyone to do the internal work. You don't have anyone to do your agendas. You don't have anybody to do your minutes. And I'm trying to help y'all.
And I do appreciate, I'm bringing that up because I do appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
So what I'm saying is, if this money is leaving clerk of court, clerk to council, this council clerk is working for us, and she decides, because the county will have to decide whether we want her to continue on or not, because once that is depleted, we really need to know whether she's going to be leaving the 12th, already gone, or do we add her in again on the budget to say, let's add her to continue some work until we can get our feet back again, because we don't have a clerk to council.
Are you asking if the salary of that has been figured in on the current
Once
budget?
these
Of the upcoming budget?
Well,
No, this is May, so June has to come. June has to come.
and some departments will be over, some will be under. So you can see the range of percentages of budget left. And of course, typically if you're 10/12ths of the year through, you're going to have probably about 16-17% remaining in terms of budget. Now, some of the departments have less than that, some have significantly more. And then some, like for example, you had mentioned the solicitor's office, well, we pay them quarterly. So when we end up paying them, just say we end up paying them in April, that is the last payment of the year, so they're going to be at 100% by the end of April. And so we'll have certain types of expenditures that will vary in terms of percentages.
So at the end of this fiscal year, those departments who maybe still under their budget hadn't exceeded or met their budget, will we know how much that money is allocated so we can add that money back into?
We don't, we close the general fund every year, so there's no carry forward. It's not like it's not like a capital projects budget where you have a series of projects and then the portion that's not completed, of course, is carried forward to the next year. General fund, the actual revenues and expenditures close at the end of the year. So those amounts don't carry forward.
So what happens to
What happens to the difference? That's fund balance. It's either going to add to fund balance or it's going to take away from fund balance. And there again, we've got expenditures and we've got revenues too. It could be the revenues come in either under or over, and so it's, you know, it may not, even if a department might have more expenditures than we're budgeted, it still might not end up in a deficit, you know, when you pull everything together, because you could have increases in revenues, or you could, there again, you could have hits in revenues as well, so.
But this right here, it'll show us exactly what,
Yes, that's where we are year to date, so, you know, 10/12 of the year, this is exactly where we are.
I'm just concerned about the clerk of court working and doing things for us, and she's taking her time to do things for us, and we'll probably need her in June and whatever, and we only have that amount in this budget. And if we go over, are we saying as a council, we're gonna ask her to stay longer? I don't know. I wouldn't know where I was staying. If the money's gone, will they pay me more for my time?
We continue
No, I'm talking for her.
to fund salaries regardless of whether or not the department is over or under. We don't cut a salary off just because the department is over or under, and we try to address that when we come to the upcoming budget, so that if we see changes and, you know, we might have changes in personnel, which is what we talked a little bit about on the slide. We had about $100,000 increase within, you know, sheriff's department for, and it was for insurance fringe, and it was for their police officer retirement. Well, a lot of that is you can have officers that previously were being replaced that were single. They come in with a married officer, they're electing family coverage, and there's a huge difference between single and family coverage in terms of what it costs the county. So we have a lot of variables that can change what our expenditures are, and we don't necessarily. I mean, if the department is over in terms of, you know, expenses, you know, that just closes out at the end of the year. We continue to pay those salaries.
That's why it's important to keep a 5.5 month reserve for fund balance. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to go. So you do, you know, we taking out 380. So if it comes out to 385, what you actually have to do at the end of the year, then you take out 385 in fund balance. So it's nothing to stop, but we just want to get as close to, just like operating your regular budget for your house for a month. I mean, you know, we want to make sure, so nothing to stop, but we want to make sure we keep as much as we can in fund balance for overage. And hopefully, we always come in under budget. I mean, that's the key.
any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Park. Ms. Sumter, would you give us our administrative report, please?
Good evening. As we do each month, we recognize employees with 5 or more years of service in Marlboro County. So in the month of April, we have Brandon Power for 5 years, Eric Hendricks for 5 years, Shante Weldon, 6 years, Amber Norris, 8 years, Brian Matsuda, 10 years, Teresa Burgess, 21 years, Robert Cameron, 25 years, and Ronald Covington, 29 years. During the month of May, several groups of employees are recognized. There's National Correctional Officers or Correctional Workers Appreciation Week, which is this week, May 7th through the 13th, recognizing the many officers and their value to law enforcement. There's National EMS Week, which is May 21st through May 27th, recognizing the many people who provide emergency medical services to our communities. Also this week is May 7th through the 13th is Public Service Recognition Week. And this is a time to set aside to honor the men and women who serve our nation as federal, state, county, and local government employees. This includes all of our departments. Therefore, in recognition and honor of Marlboro County employees, we plan to have Employee Appreciation Day on May 18th. We're planning a fun-filled event for the employees on the grounds of the library and emergency building. This is similar to the event that we had last year. We ask that you see any county, state, federal employees, whether they're law enforcement or administrative assistants, all employees, that you let them know that they're appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Huntley. Any
What time
questions?
is that, Ms. Hunter? 3 to 7?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We'll move on down to the recognition of citizens. First on the agenda is Mike Goff. Would, please. All right.
Mr. Chair, members of the council, thanks for your time. I'm Mike Goff. About 2 years ago, I came before you in support of making Marlboro County a Second Amendment sanctuary county. And I did that because the freedoms we enjoy as Americans, no matter how small or big, is important enough to me to fight for. Today, I come before you to fight for the rights of private property. Our founding fathers knew and clearly understood the importance of private property and that it was the foundation of not only prosperity but freedom itself. So I own my land outright and I already pay taxes, and it sounds like it's probably going to go up higher. But if I own it outright, I think it's a government overstep if I have to pay to submit an application to get permission from any government body to do something on my land. I own it. I don't need the government to give me permission to do something, whether it's build a deck on a house, plant a swimming pool in the ground, build a shop. That's my land. As long as I'm not building half of it on a neighbor or something that's not affecting them. Private property means I own it. I don't need the government to give me permission for something on my land. If you argue safety, Benjamin Franklin said that if one should give up a little freedom for temporary safety, they deserve neither safety nor freedom. So if I build it on my land, I take responsibility for whatever happens, regardless of how courts built. For example, it's been talked about many times today of inflation. If somebody wants to build something on their land, they already got to pay the money to get it done. If they can do it on their own, they're skilled, why should they have to pay another certified contractor? Why do they need to pay the government for permission if it's private property, if they own it? I understand commercial stuff, you got to zone it, they got to do permits, landfills, whatever it is, but if it's mine, I don't agree with having to pay any government for a permit, for permission to do that. Luckily, America hadn't gotten so bad, we need a permit to speak. We got the freedom of speech without a permit, and I think I should be able to do anything on my property without a permit. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, with Northeastern Technical College, Dr. Kyle Wagner. Yeah, I'll pass them out for you.
Oh, thank you.
Actually, I've already given them a copy of that letter, so let's see.
Thank you very much for allowing me to come speak. Northeastern Technical College has been working on this project now for about 5 years, and little bit about what we're trying to do at the airport. We had a drone program, we still have it, and was selected in the United States to have a safety drone program for the southeast region of the United States. Because of receiving that, it put us into the aerospace business. With that, we followed up with a grant for $2 million to put an aviation maintenance program at the Marlboro Airport. We brought in industry from around the United States to actually look at the full service area. They chose Marlboro Airport as a location for this facility. The facilities are beautiful out there. If you haven't been out there, you need to go check it. It is a state-of-the-art airport. And with this airport being utilized for what Northeastern Technical Colleges want to do by using one of the corporate hangars as a temporary home for our aerospace education program. This is the beginning of Northeastern Technical College working with the aerospace industry to develop aerospace businesses for the region and opportunities for small and medium-sized businesses. In the United States, the aerospace industry is worth $90 billion. It's predicted to grow 4% per year for the next 7 years. We have an aerospace presence already in our community, and we also have an aerospace manufacturer in Charleston. This is a huge opportunity for Marlboro County to look at this as an economic development opportunity. The number one, when it comes to supplying the aerospace industry, the number one job classification is machinist. One thing we've done at Northeastern Technical College is we've done a really good job training machinists. There is a lot of machinists in our community, so the opportunity for the workforce is already here. So Northeastern Technical College took this on as a project to do, and we are now negotiating with a consultant to come in and actually study the area to tell us not what we do to attract business here, but what we need to bring specific businesses here to leverage what we already have. Small businesses in the machining area, how can we leverage them to have the opportunity to go after manufacturing for the aerospace industry? Our goal is to build that industry up and become a vital supplier for the aerospace industry. Our location here is ideal. We have Charleston, we have Raleigh, and we have Charlotte, all driving distance. We have a beautiful rail system, we have a port, we have access to 4-lane with I-95 as a major corridor on the East Coast, and we can ship aerospace products up and down the East Coast. This is a huge opportunity. Northeastern Technical College is requesting to use this hangar, and it's only the beginning. We've got some pictures there of a sister institution that we're working with called Marshall University, and we helped them get their aviation program started last year. We went up and checked it out, and they are utilizing a hangar at their airport for this. Northeastern Technical College's intent is not to damage the hangar one bit. We want to upfit the hangar to be able to handle the equipment. We will not be holding set-down classrooms there. It's strictly a laboratory to work on aircraft parts, pieces, and learn that trade. Anything that we do to the hangar that changes the hangar, we would get approved by the airport board. And an example would be an air compressor. We would make sure that the airport board signs off on where we locate the air compressor and make sure it would not have a negative impact for when we leave the building. It could still be used for its corporate operation that it was designed for. We believe that this is a huge opportunity for Marlboro County and Northeastern Technical College to partner. We had a great partnership to get the Winn-Dixie building going, and we're just about ready to, this close, of announcing a $7.1 million expansion of that facility. So we think the partnership is good. This is a central location for our service area, and we believe this program is an ideal location for this program. It will take work, and it will take partnership with the new people coming in to talk to businesses to make that happen. But we are committed to do this. We see this as a vital, and huge economic opportunity for local businesses that are already in the machining business to go after this. And my background is aviation, and I help companies do these certifications. So I'd like to thank you for letting me come speak. I kind of wanted to give you an idea of what we're planning, and we are going to continue to work with the airport board if that's the will of the committee to keep moving forward with this project.
All right, thank you.
Any
Got it
questions?
right? Thank you. Okay, recognition of council members. Councilman Woods?
Yeah, Mr. West and, the finance Doris, we thank y'all. I know the next couple months, next couple, we're gonna be very trying, hope everybody can stay focused and, just stay to the grind. It's gonna be a new day, and, we wanna work with everybody, not against nobody. Mr. Chair, and I would like, I thought, we have a tendency when people leave to go straight to the job description. But so many of us at the job description, they do more than the job description do. What you do and what the job description is two different things. I would like to see us from the sheriff department to every department head, when someone leave, to get an exit interview. Find out why they're leaving. The first time we say somebody leaving, they leave for more money. It might not be that, might not be the case. And even when they're leaving, what all do you do? Because if we look at our job description do not put in detail what a person do. I think we get an exit interview, start doing exit interview when people leave, we can have a better grip of what all the hats they wore. A perfect example, if we ask Mr. Capo, what all do you do? We see your job description, but what all you did? So now when we start looking for someone, we can try to find somebody that can do more than one thing than that job description. So like the clerk of the council, she do more than just take notes. There's a lot that a person do. So I think that's something that we might need to look into. All department heads, when someone leave, hey, if make a volunteer, why you leaving? And what all did you do? I could be a department head, but I might know everything you done, and then that way we can correct that for the next person. We always can't just rest it all on. Oh, he left for more money. He left. She just left because of X, Y, and Z. But we did need to know. If it's something that we doing, we need to do better. Just like when we recruit industries, when industry leave, why didn't you choose Marlboro County? What we did not offer you to make you come, or make you decide to use Marlboro County as your landing spot? These questions that we need to ask. Nothing harsh, just information wise. But like I said, the next couple of weeks, hopefully that all it would take that we can come unified. I know we know that the school board and the city going through the same thing we going through. We're trying to find a leader. But one thing we do know, anybody who come, they want to make sure they got the full support of the council. Anybody gonna take a job and we 4-3, 5-1, if the vote is too close, that person ain't gonna be comfortable working. The school board had the same situation. The gentleman said he not gonna come, he's got to vote, where one vote can change his job. So, when we start doing what we're finna do, we need to make sure that we are all aboard, that we get the best qualified person that we feel can do the best for our community.
All right, thank you. Ms. Lawson?
I just want to again thank everyone who attended the meeting tonight, visitors and everyone, but I'm just thankful that we are hoping to get on the right track about a lot of things in this county, and then that we can also look at things as visionaries and see things and work together. That's all I hope.
Dr. Johnson?
Again, thank everyone for coming out and participating in this process. The more citizens that we have to participate in this process, the better we can be held accountable for the decisions that we make that is going to affect their lives. I want to say thank you to Sheriff McNeil. I heard he was having a very eventful morning, and someone was in I know he's not Don't even know too many people know about it, but somebody was in an accident this morning, turned over, and sheriff is riding by, and I can't say he saved her life, but he got her to where she needs to be. It's things like that that go unnoticed in our county, and we can't dismiss those things because he didn't have to stop. You know, he's the sheriff. You know, he could have called one of the deputies to come, but he saw fit to stop, and that's the type of people we have in our county. We have people here because they want to be here, not because they have to be here. We have people here because we want to be here, and we love this county. We want to do the very best we can to improve our county. 20 months, straight months, we've been in the highest in unemployment. That's just unacceptable, and we have to do a better job of governing so we can do a better job of attracting those things that's going to allow us to improve our county's dynamics.
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming, and I want to thank staff too, because I know clerk, the council, and Ms. Doris, and everybody is taking on a lot more in the last month or so, and we appreciate what you're doing. I mean, we want you to know that, and we don't want to overlook anybody, because we know that y'all putting in more time, more hours, and doing more work, and I just want you to know that you are appreciated. And you are, all of you.
I was approached a couple of weeks ago, and again Saturday, by a couple of girls in the clerk's office, and I've ran this by the chairman today. They have a limited lunch break. They're in those offices 8 hours a day, and with the limited amount of restaurants we have in Benswell and the shortage of help that most every place has got, if they go on their lunch break, by the time they get their food, it's time for them to be back at the courthouse. So they asked me to check into possibly getting 3 picnic tables, and I came up with this myself, 3 umbrellas and the holders. And I looked today with Mr. Hamer, put them on this side of the courthouse between Charles's office and that shade. That way they can bring their own food. They can get out of those buildings for their half-hour lunch or 45 minutes, whatever they get, and enjoy their lunch and not be rushed to run uptown, and they get their food just in time to bring it back and still have to eat it in the office. So it's not going to cost the county anything. I'm soliciting the funds. I've already got one person that's going to donate, a businessman locally, and I'm going to get the prices on 3 picnic tables, 3 umbrellas, and 3 holders, and we're going to put that on the other side of the courthouse under those shade trees where anybody wants to, men or women, can have their lunch right there on the courthouse grounds and not have to go uptown and take a chance of not getting to eat the lunch. But if anybody's got any problem with it or nobody's got a concern with it, I think that's something we need to do for their county employees too, Also this week, as Doris said, National Correctional Officers Week. It's also National Nurses Week from May the 6th to May the 12th. And we need to thank all the nurses because they have such dedication and caring for all of us. And it actually ends on May the 12th, which coincides with Florence Nightingale's birthday. So if you see a nurse this week or whatever, congratulate them and thank them for all the dedication and the care that they give all of us, and that's pretty much it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. I want to thank Dr. Wagner for presenting that proposal. I see the work that NETC is doing and the innovative thing that they're trying to do to spark the growth that we need here in our county. And we definitely need to partner with NETC and their efforts and with this aviation programs and some of the other stuff that they're doing to really help transform the skill dynamics that we have here in Marlboro County so we can attract those jobs of the future that's going to come here to Marlboro County. That aviation program, even if we just, Councilman Woods talked about, if we get the person that make the boat for bowling, that's the job that comes to Marlboro County. So we have to start thinking outside the box, but this is a good opportunity to partner with NETC. So I hope that we really consider their request and do what we can to assist them with that.
All right, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, forgive me, but Mr. Odom, you're exactly right. The ladies approached me also about they needed somewhere just nice and comfortable to eat out, and I thought that was a good idea to keep them healthy. So that came to me about 2 weeks ago, and I do think that's necessary. It's a nice place there.
And on that same note, I was approached on trying to see if we can get the fountain back working. And I really haven't even checked into that yet, but we will see if we can get the fountain going. And
Thank you for
that is a
putting it on the
concern.
table. Thank you.
That is a concern of mine as well. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
In a second? All in favor? All right, unanimous.